Part 91. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 904. Of course Richelieu's ring is indispensable, but we have to wait for an opportunity, otherwise it will always feel like something is missing. It's late November, and the temperature has not continued to drop. On the contrary, it has warmed up a bit, but long clothes and long sleeves are still indispensable. There is a row of bungalows and tile-roofed houses between the dormitory building and the complex building of the Tuileries mansion, which are warehouses. At this time, inside the warehouse, sunlight passed through the exhaust fan and shone on the cement floor. As the exhaust fan continued to rotate, light dust was flying in the changing light beam. Leipzig stood in front of the discarded steel that filled half the warehouse, 5 times at most. Too little. When the company sent the reward resources, Sugu started to think about it, but he was delayed because of something else. A natural problem is that there are already enough people in the garrison and there is no shortage of new people, but as an admiral, a large amount of resources cannot be built, which is a little bit less interesting. He thought for a while, then sat down to pay back the money after being asked for the price, 20 times. I haven't built for such a long time, this number is not much. Leipzig did not refuse directly. She said, "Is the admiral asleep?" Sugu replied, "Thank you for your concern. I slept well." "Then why are you daydreaming?" Leipzig's eyebrows were raised, his eyes were widened, and his voice was a little soft, like a squeal. Sugu shook his head, thinking that he would be excited to find Lexington in the morning. What she meant was that you should convince Leipzig. Leipzig is really a grandette, which is a bit difficult to handle. Am I the admiral or are you the admiral? Who are you? Sugu clapped his hands and spread them out, saying, "That's okay." "Didn't you say that the tutelage is everyone's garrison?" Leipzig retorted. She thought for a moment. Since it is everyone's garrison, of course the resources belong to everyone. You can't just do whatever you want. With so many resources, that's not possible. No, just hold a meeting, as long as more than half of the people support you. Sugu said, "Everyone take a step back, okay?" No, Leipzig refused to give in. She raised her right hand, spread her fingers, and slowly lowered her thumb, just 4 more times. "Let's make a compromise," Sugu said. "As long as we build a ship girl, even a destroyer, I will stop. Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe more. It's just a gamble." Leipzig put his head aside and said in disgust, "Then you should do it 20 times. Is my luck that bad?" Sugushun climbed up the pole, "Then 20 times. He just said it casually, not thinking that someone was so shameless, and of course he would not knock out his teeth or swallow blood. Leipzig pushed Sugu and said, "Let's go, I'm going to close the door. I made an appointment with Cologne to play chess, and now I still want to go. If she didn't go, she would probably curse." Leipzig had a lot of strength. It would be better to say that in order to protect precious resources, his strength became 120%. Sugu was suddenly pushed to the door of the warehouse by her. Unable to retreat any further, Sugu quickly reached out and grabbed the doorframe. "Okay, 5 times is enough. Since I am the warehouse manager, I can't let you mess around. I don't know how many garrison houses are so poor that they have no resources to attack because of the admiral's gambling. Everyone is so devastated that they can only sit at the door of the drainage room and play with their fingers." Leipzig finally stopping, she said, feeling like a housekeeper. Sugu thought to himself, if it were still a game and he had so many resources, whether his mood was good or bad, it would be a trivial matter to build a dozen or dozens of games, and no one would be nagging in his ears. If you are willing to show off, no one can stop you. Of course, I still prefer this situation. I bargained for several construction opportunities and built some amazing ship girls. Someone patted me on the shoulder and said it was good. If there was nothing, someone laughed loudly at the African admiral and I muttered, I'll definitely do it next time. Leipzig said, when does the Admiral plan to build it? Sugu couldn't wait and rubbed his hands. How are you now? Leipzig still knows something about building metaphysics. Why don't you put some pig heads and burn incense and pray? Need not. Why don't you recite the leading teacher's guide first? I already have a lion, so I don't need it anymore, Sugu thought to herself. She slept with the lion yesterday. Her figure was really ruthless. Leipzig said, women's clothing. Sugu lowered his head, raised his hand, and slowly clenched his fist. You may die if I punch you. Isn't it like last time? Leipzig was naturally not afraid of Sugu's threat. She complained, bringing in reputation, Gaga, Lafite, Eugenu, Mr. Su, in the name of good luck, we can take advantage. In fact, sexual harassment in the workplace occurred in the town hall. Sugu said, you must ask me to call the Prince of Wales. A man is a man who knows the current affairs. Leipzig said at the time, Admiral, you can do whatever you want. Think about it, it's better to find an auspicious day, which is suitable for building ships. The metaphysics of construction still need to be paid attention to. Sugu crossed his arms and said to himself. He saw the leafy trees outside the window that were as high as 2 stories high. In fact, my mind is not there at all. How about giving it a try first? Whatever. Just do it. Sugu took a deep breath, walked to the discarded steel, put his hand on the rusted and uneven steel, and touched the rivets. I don't know how much time passed before Sugu woke up. He didn't see the unknown little Lolita, girl, or royal sister appear. He saw Leipzig, who was sitting on the chair and leaning on the back of the chair reading a book. He didn't know when. A group of people came over. Missouri stood by the shelf and turned around. Wake up. Congratulations, you failed. Missouri saw Sugu's pale face, and she was a little worried. What did you see? Sugu was still frightened, and he thought for a while. I only remember a few scenes. The sky is very blue, with white clouds and seagulls flying in the sky. It looks peaceful. Looking around, there are many warships, but it's a pity that they are blurry, otherwise I would definitely recognize them. I'm standing on an aircraft carrier. There are bridges, chimneys, flight decks, and carrier-based aircraft. It must be an aircraft carrier. The chimney is very familiar, and I can't remember it at once. I've built quite a few times, and this is the first time I encountered such a strange thing. There is no one on this ship, not a single sailor, pilot, or officer. No matter how hard I look, I can't find it. Could it be that everyone is on vacation? Gone. That shouldn't be the case, because the ship is moored on the sea, not in a dock or dock. I don't remember what happened next. It seemed like a dream. The dream was so clear that I couldn't remember anything when I woke up. I saw a plane fly by and drop something. Explode. Big bang. Fortunately, it's just the memory of steel, not the real sight. The bright light almost blinded my eyes. The shock wave that followed was visible to the naked eye, but it didn't lift me, but it lifted the carrier-based aircraft on the flight deck. I heard the explosion, and then I couldn't hear anything. I don't know how long it took to recover. The explosions continued. It was the aircraft carrier exploding. Flames. When I reacted, violent flames rose around me. Nothing could hurt me. I was walking around on the deck. It was a wonderful feeling. I don't know how to describe it. I felt a sense of sadness and grievance from that aircraft carrier. Then, I almost cried too. Come out. When Sugu was talking, he saw tears flowing from the corners of his sister-in-law Saratoga's eyes, muttering something to herself. I know who that aircraft carrier is, Missouri said. I know too, Sugu said. He walked to Saratoga and hugged her gently. Yes, the ship girl will never leave the Admiral, The reason is that the ship girl comes from the history and memory of steel. The history and memory of steel can only be seen, heard and felt by the admiral. For the same reason, for the admiral, the ship girl is a special existence. Missouri mused. Brother-in-law Saratoga hugged Sugu's waist, her tears staining his clothes. It's okay, it's okay. Saratoga sniffed, I don't remember anything, I don't know, but I don't know why, I just want to cry. Sugu said nothing and stroked Saratoga's silky golden hair over and over again. He thought to himself that what he saw was definitely Operation Crossroads, which was also a nuclear test operation to test the power of nuclear weapons against surface warships. Although she was cheated into bathing many times, she could be regarded as a meritorious ship, but Saratoga was actually dragged into being a target ship. Saratoga cried for a while and gradually stopped. Sugu said, Jia, do you want to take a rest? No need. Saratoga raised her head, her big eyes filled with tears, I want to take a walk. I'll accompany you. Not long after, in the corridor, Missouri looked at Saratoga hugging Sugu's arm tightly and the two people drifting away from each other. She said, Jia, she is just pretending. On the other side, walking out of the corridor and walking under the phoenix tree in front of the complex, Sugu said, where do you want to go? Saratoga had fully recovered, whatever. What do you mean casually? As long as my brother-in-law is with Gaga, it doesn't matter where he is. Then just take a walk. The two walked across the grass, walked past the blackboard wall with graffiti left by the little loli, and walked across the grass again, chatting. The history in steel is fragmented. There are not many admirals in the world who have built capital ships, but almost every admiral has seen historical fragments about the Bismarck, Hood, Lexington, and other capital ships, just a few fragments. It's nothing, but it doesn't stop Sugu from saying, it's just built, it's a pity, otherwise I would have two Gia and two sisters-in-law. Saratoga heard it and said, no. Sugu said, what if it is built? It's time to give it away. This can't be done. Then I will kill her. She has just woken up and she will definitely not be able to beat me. Saratoga let go of Sugu's hand. She was really worried. What if another Saratoga comes and competes with her for Saratoga? With Toga's name, you still want to rob your sister and your brother-in-law? Sugu didn't know what expression he was showing. Saratoga bared her teeth. See the history of a battleship from steel, and then build a corresponding ship. Sugu said, if it were a blueprint ship like the Lion and Hindenburg, what would you see? Have no idea. Lion and Hindenburg have finally laid down their keels. Sugu said, the battle cruiser Incomparable, despite relevant research, has never reached the design stage from beginning to end, let alone any construction plan. She can actually appear. Do not know. The Incomparable is fine. It's also a blueprint ship. I heard about a very imaginative blueprint ship, the ice aircraft carrier Habakkuk made of ice. Sugu said, will there be a corresponding ship girl, appear? Ice aircraft carrier, Saratoga said, if you become a ship girl, your skin will be very cold. Sugu nodded. It must be very comfortable to hold and sleep with in the summer, but not so good in the winter. Sugu suddenly thought of something and smiled slightly. If the ice aircraft carrier Habakkuk had a pair of long legs, and cream was poured on those long legs, it would definitely feel good to lick, like ice cream. He hit his head, he couldn't be so dirty, it was too much. Walking to the garage, Sugu saw a black painted modified motorcycle and a rider supporting the motorcycle. He was wearing a motorcycle helmet and black goggles. He was wearing a tight-fitting black leather jacket and black high-heeled shoes. He is very sexy and handsome with long boots. Who is that? The rider saw the side, took off his motorcycle helmet, his silky blonde hair fell down. It was California. What a big difference. Sugu looked at California, thinking that he must have just returned from a 120-yard racing, and then looked at South Dakota not far away. He was wearing a white skirt and glasses, riding a small car. Circle the playground at no more than 10 yards. Brother-in-law, let's go, we're going somewhere else. Saratoga looked a little jealous as Sugu stared at California. Where to go? Go to the classroom and see if Xiaozai slept in class. Sugu said decisively, okay. When they came to the classroom, Xiaozai was not sleeping, and even Thatcher, who usually liked to sleep in class the most, was not sleeping either, because they were in music class. Is that the Royal Oak? Sugu saw the Royal Oak, who occasionally guest starred as a music teacher. She had long black hair tied up and was wearing a black suit and skirt. Of course, black stockings and high heels were indispensable. She was holding a clarinet. Sitting on the podium with his legs crossed, so, the world never lacks beauty, it just lacks a pair of eyes to discover beauty. Saratoga opened the 5 fingers of her right hand and waved them in front of Sugu's eyes. Brother-in-law, you have come to your senses. Sugu coughed. Are you planning on the Royal Oak again? No. Saratoga said quietly, brother-in-law, let's go build it. Sugu had no way to build it because he stood in the corridor and looked down. Shinano led a lady with long hair tied into a ponytail into the Tutelary mansion. Coincidence? Gia, your partner is here. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai Rong Yan. Chapter 905. Sister Nagato, I have been looking forward to the stars and the moon. I have been waiting for you for decades, and you are finally here. Nagato couldn't keep up with Mutsu's rhythm. Decades. Every day seems like a year. Mutsu smiled playfully. She learned this trick from someone. Nagato finally came to the Tutelary mansion, and the place where Mutsu entertained her was not the cafe of the Tutelary mansion, but the Kaohsiung noodle shop full of Japanese style. In fact, it can no longer be called Kaohsiung Noodle House. It is more appropriate to call it an izakaya. Originally it was not called Kaohsiung Noodle House. It does not only operate ramen. It was a name given to people to make fun of it. All in all, since Mutsu returned to the tutelage, in the eyes of the izakaya maid who has been in the izakaya for several years, the place is full of flaws. It has been renovated, and it has become more comfortable and casual, like a home. Now that it is approaching winter, cold drinks are gradually withdrawing from the stage, and oden, spicy hot pot, etc. are shining brightly. In fact, the more important reason is that Xiaokeiku is here to help. The soccer champion Fuza returns to the tutelage and stays here most of the time. Shinano no longer helps in the cafe. Except for training time, she is here to entertain. Although she is a fool, but I can't stand up to my good figure. Idiots are easier to bully. Akage can still let loose here, let alone Mutsu. Anyway, now that Sugu comes often and leads other people, this place has the potential to catch up with the coffee shop. Nagato looked at the lucky cat on the tall bar of the izakaya, the neatly arranged rows of sake, and the large orange lanterns. Then he looked away and saw the chopstick holders, bottles of condiments, and bottles on the table in front of him. Salt, soy sauce, mustard, vinegar, a smile, a bit familiar. The izakaya in Mutsu used to be like this. It was great to think of the days when we ate, drank, and chatted together. I originally planned to come here early, but something delayed me. Mutsu said, what's the matter? Many. Nagato picked out a few items and said them. There are various reports that need to be completed, and there are many meetings that need to be attended. Mutsu, you borrowed 23 artillery pieces and obtained such powerful equipment. Naturally, you have to go out and teach a lesson. The abyssal ship girl, who didn't know the heights of the world, challenged a few battleships she had known before, tortured them, and finally said, speaking of Mutsu, your equipment has been borrowed for so long, and now it is returned to you. Seeing the reluctant expression on Nagato's face, Mutsu understood it and laughed a little. Don't worry, Just take it first. We are already here, so there is really no need to rush. Nagato thought of something again. She picked up the backpack beside her, unzipped it, and took out a magazine. This is what your garrison did. It's really amazing. So many deep-sea flagships were suppressed like this. I saw Admiral Su, Changchun, Ayanami, and Shikinami, but I didn't see you, Mutsu. Sugu did not participate in the sea battle, but he was an admiral, so he was naturally indispensable. The main reason is that there are still several people who have not returned to the town hall. He doesn't like to be in the limelight, and he is going to be featured in the magazine. He hopes that everyone will see him and come back. Mutsu glanced at the magazine. She just glanced at the magazine briefly. After all, she didn't have it. You can't see me because I didn't participate. Why, Nagato was surprised. She said, your training is definitely enough. Mutsu replied, because of the slow speed of the ship, and maneuverability is a big problem, although it is possible to go, considering the safety of the garrison, some people must be left behind, so we were left behind. Anyway, it was enough to suppress those deep-sea flagships. Okay, one more is not much. What a pity. Nagato shook her head. In her mind, missing such a wonderful battle was really a great regret in life. I usually read magazines and imagine facing powerful enemies like deep-sea Yamato and Musashi, the fierce sea wind, overwhelming pressure, shelling, dodges, huge water columns. I am so excited that my blood boils. There's nothing to be sorry for. Mutsu looked at Sugu, who was sitting next to her, and stretched out his arm to hug him tightly. If he had attacked at that time, he would have missed his opportunity. When Nagato saw the two people, she knew what Mutsu was thinking a long time ago. She smiled and said, congratulations. Not yet, almost. Someone has eaten and wiped the person clean, but is unwilling to take responsibility. Mutsu thought to himself, although he doesn't have a ring yet, he has done a lot of intimate things. If he dares to go back on his word, he will be bombarded. Well, for those extremely vicious guys, my sister called them and served them tea, and they agreed not to stop them. I don't know how many days they have to wait, but they are taking it easy. Nagato-san, you have to make the decision for your sister. Okay, of course. Nagato knew Mutsu's character, and he knew it was just a joke. Mutsu spread his hands and said, Sister Nagato, you can't miss the red envelope. Your big red envelope is absolutely indispensable. Nagato took a sip from the teacup and asked, when are you planning to hold the wedding? Mutsu shook his head, resentful, I don't know. Nagato said, it's better to be early, otherwise I will have to go back and have no chance to participate. Go back, Mutsu thought to himself, if you still want to go back, you are absolutely not allowed. Of course I'm going back, Nagato said. I'll return the equipment you gave me. You asked me to come over for a visit. Now that I'm here, you're living a good life and everything is at ease. Mutsu said, no. I will definitely go back. I don't care, at least, you have to attend my wedding before leaving anyway. Mutsu looked at Sugu and emphasized, the wedding is my wedding. Sugu heard what Mutsu meant, she wanted a wedding. He thought to himself that he had been married to so many people, but it seemed that he had not yet held a formal wedding. One ring at a time was enough, and the worst he could do was make up a wedding dress afterwards. It used to be Leipzig, now it is Kirov, and he would ask them to take a few more photos. Wedding photos. There is a super embarrassing problem. It's not a big deal to hang one wedding photo in the girl's room. One photo per person, but having more than a dozen wedding photos hanging in their own room is quite dramatic. No Sumingli. Mutsu said, Admiral, let's give birth to a daughter, little Mutsu, and dress her in a kimono and hang a carp streamer. Sugu said, the Peach Blossom Festival is a festival for girls, and the Carp Festival is a festival for boys. Mutsu thought for a moment and said, it's not a carp streamer, it's a salted fish streamer. It belongs to Gan Niang's salted fish steamer. Nagato laughed. Mutsu originally felt something was wrong. Yes, her sister couldn't leave, but the wedding couldn't be delayed either. It had to be as early as possible. It was quite contradictory. But now she was fine. She looked at Nagato. Nagato-san, at least you have to wait until the Admiral and I's child is born, you are the child's aunt. Nagato said, you can come back later. It can't be worse than Missouri. She helped the Admiral to get a Hindenburg and a Wisconsin. Montpelier has not completely failed yet. Maybe it will come sometime and the enterprise will have some signs of success. There are many people who can't compare with it at all. Bar. Mutsu held the teacup with both hands, staring at the thin tea leaves swirling on the tea surface and the rising mist. Nagato-san has left the Kenmei branch. Who is in charge now? Nagato replied, Falcon. Your great butler. Nagato said, although I am the minister, she has always been in charge, and she has been handling all kinds of documents. After they are processed, bring them to me, I will take a look, and then sign and seal them. Suguxiao, we are a bit similar. Admiral Mascot Nagato looked at Sugu, leaned on the back of the chair and looked at the ceiling. This time I leave, all the Kanyang branch will be handed over to her. She is the acting minister, and she does not plan to continue to be the minister after she returns. Now, just be an ordinary soldier. So, Nagato-san, you don't know how to manage, you can only be a spiritual leader. Nagato was confused. Mutsu explained, as long as you go back, the minister will definitely be yours. Hayabusa has the ability, but she will never be, because becoming the minister means taking your position, and she will definitely not be able to do it. You insist that she be, the ship girl headquarters also agreed, but as long as you are here, it will not be easy for her to be the minister. You are the former minister, you are the supreme emperor, you can say anything casually. What should Falcon do? Do you listen? If you don't listen, your influence, the power is still there, and there are many people surrounding her. Listen, she becomes passive. As long as she becomes a minister, I won't express my opinion. She didn't serve as a minister for nothing for so many years. Nagato knew more or less, so she said, I will apply to be transferred to another Kanyang branch. You can go to Songxiang County headquarters. Change to a Kanji branch, Mutsu said. Where to change? You are in an unfamiliar place and starting from scratch. It is better to stay in our garrison. At least your sister who you like and love the most is here. My brows are furrowed so much, so I don't mean to ask you to join the garrison now. Nagato said, I still know a lot of people in Songxiang County. Forget it, don't talk about it, let's talk about it again. Mutsu thought that it's impossible to rush, because pushing too hard can easily have the opposite effect. She asked, did Nagato eat? Have eaten. Really or not, Mutsu said, don't worry about troublesome us, this is an izakaya, come on, here is the menu. I recommend the eel rice bowl, and the hell ramen is also available. Don't be polite. We went to your place without being polite. We obviously didn't do anything to attend the celebration party. Sugu also persuaded him. He suddenly remembered that he met Dyson of the Little Beaver Squadron at the Kanji branch in Nagato. Number 1, as well as the William D. Porter. After some operations, they actually failed and suffered a tragic loss. There are the most Fletcher-class destroyers, and they are everywhere. Whether you are getting married or not, take Fletcher with you whenever you go out. You can take care of any Fletcher-class destroyers you encounter. Nagato said, I really ate it. I ate it on the passenger ship in the morning. Mutsu said, then let's eat some oden. Nagato couldn't refuse, okay. Mutsu walked away and went to serve the oden. Nagato looked at Sugu, Admiral Su, treat Mutsu well. I know. If I'm sorry for her, I will come to you. Good. I know what you did before. I won't talk about that anymore. Don't abandon her again, otherwise don't blame me for being cruel. Nagato was speechless, and she fell silent for a moment, even if the admiral did something very excessive. As a ship girl, generally speaking, you still choose to forgive. Because of this, it is often difficult to carry out the work of the military police. My own training level is really nothing. It seems a bit difficult to be a righteous hero. Don't worry, I don't want to soak in formalin yet, Sugu said worriedly. He could see the reason. Some people were joking, and some people were not sure. No matter what, if they ran away again, the little black room and the dog wood chains are indispensable. What are you talking about? Mutsu came back after a while and brought a bowl of oden. Nothing, Nagato said. Forget it if you don't say it, Mutsu said, just eat. Thank you for the hospitality. After Nagato said, he took a pair of chopsticks, clasped his hands together, and said something silently, I'm starting. With radish, bamboo shoots, quail eggs, meatballs, mushrooms, and lotus root slices, Nagato finished a bowl of oden in one go, but it still felt a little lacking and left something to be desired. I really ate it. I ate it on the passenger ship this morning. Mutsu imitated Nagato's voice and joked, then paused and said, Sister Nagato, I didn't know you. You look like a serious foodie. Nagato blushed, a little shy, and hesitated. One more bowl. No need. Nagato raised his head and found that Mutsu had walked away. Mutsu brought another bowl of oden. She looked at Nagato enjoying his meal and asked, how does it taste? Very good, Nagato said, obviously we are sisters, why don't I have such good cooking skills? These oden are not made by me, Mutsu said jokingly, pointing not far away, they are fuzu, you have seen them before. Since it's not you, why are you asking? It's a waste of emotions. Nagato said, I've seen it before, she doesn't seem to be a wedding ship. Not yet, Mutsu smiled, in our garrison, if we don't take the initiative, the ring will have to wait slowly. Nagato seemed to have discovered something. After reminiscing and leaving the izakaya, Mutsu led Nagato down the corridor of the dormitory building. Accommodation must be arranged, Nagato-san, pick a room. Whatever, Nagato said, I'll just sleep with you for a few days, otherwise I'll have to deal with it again. Sleep with me? No, 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 no. Mutsu thought to himself that a room of his own could effectively improve his sense of belonging and make things easier for him. Nagato said, Mutsu hates my sister. Of course I don't hate it. Why? This is where wisdom comes from, desperation. Mutsu put his arm around Nagato's shoulders and said to her, if you want to sleep with me, what will the admiral do? Nagato nodded, for this reason, there was no way to refute it. Mutsu also nodded, thoughtfully, she discovered something. During lunch, Sugu found an opportunity to avoid Nagato and asked Mutsu, how are Nagato's arrangements going? Very good. Wisconsin hasn't been solved yet, and another Nagato comes. I feel like she's a bit difficult to handle. Mutsu tugged at Sugu's sleeve, and she whispered, Admiral, please come to my room tonight. Let's think about it together and discuss what we can do to take down Nagato. Missouri came out of nowhere. She was Mutsu's enemy and rival, what a great idea. I'll go to, call everyone together, and brainstorm ideas. Mutsu didn't look at Miss Sug, and she said, Admiral, didn't you say that you must give Nagato a room? As for Nagato, she wanted to sleep with me, but I refused her on the grounds that I wanted to sleep with the Admiral. Sleep. So, at least tonight, you have to come to my room to get the letter from Nagato. Missouri interrupted, it doesn't matter, as long as the guest room is cleaned up, the rice will be cooked, and Nagato will stay here even if he doesn't. Mutsu turned his head and said quietly, Missouri, you want to fight. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 906. There were people coming and going in the cafeteria. Of course Mutsu and Missouri would not fight here. They would punch and kick, pull their hair, tear their clothes, no matter whether there was anyone or not, or in any corner, the two of them would not fight. With big eyes and small eyes, Mutsu decided to ignore Missouri first. She turned to Sugu and said coquettishly, "Admiral, I want a ring." "I have a ring here, do you want it?" Missouri raised her hand and turned her back to Mutsu to show off the ring on her hand. It was not a dogtail ring. The ring was now well placed in the exquisitely crafted jewelry box, but it was originally placed in it. The gemstone earrings, pearl necklaces, etc. in the jewelry box were all moved to other places, and finally hidden in the deepest part of the desk drawer. Instead, they bought rings separately from Chuangziu, a simple yet elegant pair of rings. "Give it to me?" "Okay." I reluctantly accepted it. Mutsu was furious and reached out to grab it, but Missouri had already clenched his hand into a fist in advance. This is Missouri, right? When the two of them couldn't stand still, Nagato came to the rescue. Mutsu snorted and took back his hand. Missouri asked Nagato, "Do you recognize me?" Nagato replied, "I read it in a magazine." Until Missouri was far away, Mutsu slandered in a low voice, "Sister Nagato, let me tell you, be careful about that Missouri. You see her face is angry, she doesn't know how to wear clothes properly, she smells of dust all over her body, you know her appearance. What's the number? Madam me, Mama me. What she likes to do most is to abduct ignorant girls into the sea." When Mutsu said that, she saw Sugu, and her expression suddenly became strange. There was only one prostitute in the town guard mansion. The governor's mansion is no better than the Kanyang branch of the company. There are no special private rooms here, and there are no Tinkinksuan, Zi Pavilion, or Fugui Hall. Nagato can only eat in the large cafeteria. Nagato sat at a dining table by the window and subconsciously looked out the window. He couldn't see the endless sea because there was a wall, but he could see the roses climbing all over the wall and various flowers and plants in the corners. Although there is no flowering this season, all the flowers and plants are grown by unicorns. Every corner of the guard house, as long as it is not planted by Yuxian, is her secret garden. Occasionally, Sugu is invited to take care of the garden together. Sugu is responsible for taking care of the garden, and she is responsible for playing the piano. Occasionally invited by Hood, she would take care of it while Hood would drink black tea. Nagato's bowl was almost full, which was the result of Sugu winking at Ninghai, who was in charge of serving the dishes. We must let Nagato feel the enthusiasm of the tutelary mansion. There is no need to explain the reasons, but he should not be too enthusiastic. For example, asking Yuxian to prepare special dishes, braised lion heads, Buddha jumping over the wall, or something else. On the one hand, it seems too unconventional. It's like entertaining guests. On the one hand, things must be reversed when they are extreme. It is easy for people to feel that their presence will cause trouble to others and choose to leave. Boat fishing is a science. At Chuangziu Naval Academy, the course of fishing for an admiral is taught. It is not an elective course but a compulsory course. The size and thickness of the book are comparable to classics. In addition to the ship girls serving as instructors in the academy, there are also many admirals who have left the town for various reasons as teachers. The teacher who teaches this class is a man who has built only 15% of the ship girls in the town. Dude, although many people say that his eloquence and skill in playing tricks are average at best, he is just handsome, and handsome means he can do whatever he wants. Sugu sat opposite Nagato. He said nothing because the two of them were not too familiar. Mutsu sat next to her, and as a younger sister, he said with confidence, "Nagato, you have eaten too much Japanese food, try the Chinese food. It tastes very good. Nagato tells the truth as he learns from every experience, just how he feels, so as not to be ridiculed by Mutsu again. She picked up a meatball and thought it tasted particularly good. What kind of dish is this? Fish balls, chopped fish balls. The craftsmanship of the supreme cook of our town, Yuxian, is not outstanding. She is the best at it, Mutsu said. There is nothing she is not good at. She even knows how to cook Japanese food. She is better than me. After all, there is the experience of becoming a Dota in history. Well, let me emphasize that she doesn't like this experience, so Nagato-san should never mention it in front of her. Nagato nodded, I understand. Mutsu continued. Sister Nagato, look at that girl. She is from Ningai. She is a Chinese super chef second only to Yuxian. She has the 8 major cuisines of Guangdong, Sichuan, Lu, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Fujian, Hunan, and Anhui at her fingertips. The one a little further away is Pinghai. Although it is not as comprehensive as Ningai, it is the top pastry chefs in China are definitely not inferior, at least in this aspect. Of course, we Japanese are not bad at all. You know my cooking skills. Kaohsiung's cooking skills are also very good. Even so, I insist on practicing my cooking skills every day and are still improving. Just don't eat the midnight snacks she made. Everything will be fine. Nicknamed MRS Lexington, our Shokaku is also our wife. She is really awesome. She was the first one to refuse the Admiral's ring, although she must regret it now. Football champion Fuzu, Yamato Nades Hiko. Mutsu said it casually, and it looked like chatting, but it was not, and there was no deep meaning. She calmly introduced the chefs of the governor's mansion one by one. As long as you are a foodie, you can't refuse. Nagato is not a foodie, but he can eat quite a bit. Mutsu's work was excellent, and Sugu was not a jobber. Judging from various signs, Nagato respected the strong and was very persistent in being strong. He smiled and said, Nagato, you must really want to get to know them. Why can it be so strong and easily suppress so many deep-sea flagships? I'll let you know about it later. Okay, Nagato was rarely polite at all. From the moment she learned that the deep-sea flagship entrenched in the sea had been suppressed, to later seeing the magazine introducing the thrilling sea battle, she looked forward to practicing with those people. So after finishing her business, she hurried over. She hesitated, otherwise, let's go now. Sugu nodded, he put down his chopsticks and led Nagato. This is Bismarck, you can also call the cat, Persian cat, pirate cat. I used to be a ship girl mercenary for a period of time. I have a nickname called Black Ghost. Have you heard of it? North House, Tirpitz, the lonely queen of the north, Bismarck's sister. Don't look at her laziness, lying on the table as if she has no bones, and has no strength to speak. In fact, I remember you know her, right? I went on an attack with her 2 years ago, let me think about it, at the Qingtian guard's house. The head maid who can do all the decathlons and has the reputation of being the god of war. The Prince of Wales, she is the best at commanding. As long as she is in the fleet, everyone's hit points will increase. Because I was invited by the 17-year-old beautiful girl, the principal of the academy, Jean Ti, it should be no problem to describe it like this. I go to Chuangziu Naval Academy from time to time. Teaching. Let me mention one more thing, I am not teaching newcomers, I am teaching senior ship girls who have been awake for many years and have reached a bottleneck in their training. Colorado, Maryland, and West Virginia, they are the king's Shichibukai just like you. Don't worry about the details, they are the big 7. They did not participate in the sea battle, but it was not because they were not trained enough and were not strong enough to have to stay in the garrison. The strength is super strong. She was introduced by Hindenburg, Missouri. When she first joined the garrison, Her training level was about the same as yours. She should still be a little higher, but not much. She is now able to participate in sea battles, and she is not just joining in the fun. One way, she got who knows how many results, even just a little bit, to win the killing medal. Hindenburg is ignorant. He is obviously much different. He has a beheading chapter or something. Admiral, why don't you just say that you almost won the MVP? She wanted to say something, but when she saw Sugu's eyes, she kept her mouth shut. As a ship girl, there is no way to resist the Admiral. The Admiral can do whatever he wants. You like him, but you don't know now. No, 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 no. Missouri is babbling all day long, almost confused. Why is she progressing so fast? In the past, the battle group of the Kanyang branch could only be relatively strong. I couldn't find a comparable opponent. I was lucky enough to find one. I practiced sparring every day and became familiar with the opponent's fighting style. The effect was getting worse and worse, and half the effort was achieved with twice the effort. Since joining our garrison, we have had a lot of sparring partners. There are Bismarck, Bizai, Washington, and Hood. I won't count them all. There are too many of them. Each one has a different fighting style and a higher level of training. The effect of sparring is twice the result with half the effort. Anyway, we all practice, compete, discuss, and learn together. 1 month is more effective than a year of hard training in the past. It's easy to improve your training level. Mutsu patted Sugu on the shoulder, and she said, "My Admiral, after saying so much, your intention is too obvious. As long as you join our garrison, reaching the top of the ship girl is not a dream." "Yeah, it seems a bit obvious." Sugu laughed and thought for a while before saying, "But it's true, I didn't lie." Mutsu nodded, "That's true." Nagato didn't seem to care, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Hindenburg discovered it? Sugu and Mutsu looked at each other. They did it on purpose. Sugu continued to introduce, "This is Richelieu, our sister Li." Mutsu laughed and laughed, "Sister Nagato came to our garrison, not just for a visit. Let's set a small goal first. How about defeating Richelieu?" Nagato shook her head. She knew how powerful Richelieu was. She had already introduced it in the magazine. The new battleship was not comparable to a battleship like her. Sugu said with a smile, "For Richelieu, it's a bit difficult, so let's change it to avant-garde. Don't look at her new battleship, it's just shiny on the surface. The power part comes from the host originally ordered for the Lion-class battleship. All 8 the main guns are all from old World War I ships, 2 are from Queen Elizabeth, 2 are from Ramillies, and the rest are from Glory, Sovereignty, Resolve, and even the shallow water heavy gunship Darkside." In the corner of the cafeteria, Guangrong asked, "Qinwei, what are you looking at?" "I didn't see anything," Qinwei replied. She felt a little uneasy and didn't know where it came from. The political correctness of the town hall has added another black avant-garde after Black South Dakota, Black Veneto, Black Hood, etc., including letting her take the blame. Xiao Zai has finished eating and is getting ready to play with his friends. When Sugu saw her coming towards her, he squatted on the ground, clapped his hands, opened his hands, and said, "Little house. The meat of the rich dog smells stinky, there are frozen bones on the road, and there are countless little Lolita who can't be hugged. There is no such thing as a little Lolita that can't be hugged." Sugu loves all the little Lolita. Anyway, Xiao Zai knew what Sugu meant, which was to ask for a hug. She was not happy, her face was full of disgust and reluctance, wondering if it would be annoying to be hugged every day. Sugu didn't care so much. He hugged Xiao Zai tightly, but he was still so cute. He couldn't help but rub his cheek. "Did Xiao Zai finish eating so quickly?" Zai responded. "Didn't I buy you a dress a few days ago?" Sugu said. "Why haven't I seen you wearing it?" Xiaozai said, "It feels so silly when I wear it." Nagato saw Sugu's face full of happiness, completely forgetting about himself, and didn't know what expression he was showing. Mutsu whispered, "Although there are many wedding ships, he is actually a complete lolicon, so don't worry about it." Sugu reacted. He coughed and said, "Nagato, let me introduce to you. This is Xiaozai, the young version of the battleship Tirpitz. What happened on the first day that Missouri came to the garrison may be repeated. First of all, he dealt a heavy blow until Nagato finally lost his outlook on life and sent out Lexington, considering that she is an American, and the United States and Japan are not at odds with each other. Let's forget it and leave it to Akagi and feel that she looks like a girl. It's just a little bit different, so Mutsu is better. Anyway, take it step by step and adapt accordingly." All in all, it was natural to invite Nagato to participate in the exercise in the afternoon. With her level of training, she would only fail, and fail again. The tricks were not new, just easy to use. Among them, the small house of a young girl and a little loli was quite destructive to her soul. It was unbearable. Veneto was the second best, and everyone was confused for a while. Hindenburg can be regarded as a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law. Nagato, you are too weak. Missouri patted her and glared at her. The meaning was very clear: don't add fuel to the fire, too much is not enough, now she should be comforted. Mutsu hugged Nagato and patted him. It's okay, it's okay. Sugu only saw that Nagato's style of painting changed drastically, his face turned red, and he lowered his eyebrows to look like a young daughter-in-law. He recalled the big breaking vertical painting in the other party's game, and there was almost no difference between the two. Don't call the girl Nagato anymore, change her name to Changmo. He thought for a moment, pushed Bismarck, and whispered in her ear. Bismarck walked up to Nagato and hesitated. Nagato? You have great potential. Follow me to train. Nagato said nothing. Bismarck looked into the distance. Fukumae Yamato will never let it go. It's only a matter of time before he comes back. We must be vigilant at all times. There are so many deep-sea flagships in this world, such as Fortress, Deep-Sea Bismarck, Tirpitz, and Frederick the Great. We will have to do one day. Nagato, do you want to come with me? Nagato raised his head and looked at Bismarck's back, which was extremely tall. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 907. Nagato is considered to be living in the Tutelary mansion, but of course he has not joined. He can only be said to be a guest. It is hard to say whether he will join in the future. In order to salvage the ship, Sugu naturally had to behave well. He was well prepared. It was better to behave normally. There was not much use in pretending in front of the ship girl. But that's what I say, it's not too real, like sitting cross-legged on the sofa and picking at the skin of your feet, then wiping it on your pants and then reaching for a snack, or lying on the sofa with little Lolita Geu in your arms. It's better not to have people feed you. Aren't you going to participate? It was the morning a few days later. Sugu was sitting on top of the container at the dock, looking at Nagato, who was nodding his head not far away while listening to what Bismarck was saying. Nagato's long hair was tied into a neat ponytail, and she wore a beige windbreaker with a large lapel. All buttons were buttoned properly, and a pair of knee-high boots. She looked dashing and handsome, but he still liked her more. The cute little daughter-in-law looks like after repeated failures. No, I won't participate. Mutsu sat next to Sugu, dangling his legs. Then he reached out and took out a small breadstick from the small paper bag in his hand. Suddenly, a seagull swooped down from the sky and quickly took it away. Small breadsticks. She doesn't like fighting. Unless she has no choice but to agree, she usually refuses invitations to exercise. With this time, she can do anything. She keeps saying it's so troublesome. Just count you as the winner. You can find someone else. I have other things to do. Sugu took a breadstick from Mutsu and imitated her to lift it up. After waiting for a long time, he didn't see the seagulls that usually looked like robbers flying over. He took back his hand, thinking that it seemed like it had been since the last time he and Missouri took the London-made cake. After feeding the seagulls with his breadsticks, no seagulls came to him anymore. Is Mutsu afraid that the third turret will heat up and explode? Mutsu raised his palms. Admiral, I promise not to hit you on the head with an anchor. Sugu said, Mutsu is amazing. It is the only Big Seven that has sunk the Big Seven. You're going to die. Mutsu bared his teeth and slapped Sugu hard. I want to tell Sister Nagato that you bullied me. Is the Admiral so happy? If the third turret explodes, you are going to lose a wife who loves you the most. Sugu thought to himself, girl, do you want to be so sultry? After sitting on the container for a while, Mutsu left first. So looked at the target platform made of empty oil barrels for Nagato artillery shooting. It was rare to hit a straddle shot. After watching it for a while, he felt a little bored, so he left too. Walking up the long steps into the governor's house, he thought it would be nice if there was an elevator. Today was the weekend and there was no need for classes. Sugu saw a large group of little Lolita playing dodgeball on the grass. Next to them were two sisters, Z17. He and Z18 seemed to be fighting with each other while holding hula hoops. Enthusiastic sat on the ground and played with bamboo dragonflies. He sat down on the stone pier outside the grass. Admiral. Sugu looked up and saw Sigsby walking over with his hands behind his back, and he responded. Sigsby walked to Sugu and sat down, tilted his head, and shouted again, Admiral. What's up? What are you looking at? It's nothing. Sugu thought to himself, I think the young and invincible little Lolita, it's hard to talk about this kind of thing. Sigsby suddenly said, Admiral, it's been several days. What's the meaning? Well, Sigsby said, Admiral, didn't you say a few days ago that our sister Claxton would be coming in a few days? Why hasn't she come yet? Siggers was better off not mentioning it. When he mentioned Sugu, he became furious and secretly scolded the guy in the company for being dishonest. He said it well, but so far there has been no movement at all. He hesitated and said, I didn't say I'd definitely come, I'll probably have to wait 2 days. I knew it, the Admiral was bragging. Sigsby bent over, resting his elbows on his thighs, holding his cheeks in his hands. He also told us to be ready. We must be enthusiastic and capture her when the time comes. I haven't seen a single person now. Sugu was a little embarrassed, and blamed himself for not having a clue yet, so he had to swear in front of a few Fletcher-level little Lolita. Admiral must miss Claxton. I see you look excited when you talk about her. Sigsby said, Admiral Goldfish. What does it mean to be a goldfish guy? Sugu showed an aggrieved expression, but he was obviously a gentleman. He thought to himself that of course the cute love-minded little loli liked it, but he couldn't say it in front of Sigsby. The little girl would be jealous. I don't care about Claxton at all. She can have us. Sigsby, is it half beautiful? Only children take multiple choice questions, but adults take all of them. Is Sigsby really beautiful? Sigsby looked in disbelief, but her eyes betrayed her, she was just pretending. Beautiful, Sugu said, I don't know when the little beauty will turn into a great beauty who will bring disaster to the country and the people. The Admiral has such a sweet mouth, how can everyone like it so much? Sigsby stared at Sugu, his big eyes blinking. Sigsby likes it too. Sugu touched Sigsby's head, little goblin. Sigsby giggled, watching Cushing knock down Lan with an air volleyball in the distance, and she said, to be honest, Claxton, if there is another sister, she will probably be busy to death. It would be nice if you were a little more obedient. Sugu said, you are such an adult and you still need Fletcher to take care of you. Look at how tired she is. The Admiral is so worried about my sister, so just marry her. Suguxiao, she has so many sisters, I can't afford them. The admiral has looked down on my sister, and he still wants to be irresponsible. Isn't it your fault? Sugu knocked Sigsby on the head. He thought to himself, since he learned that Fletcher didn't like to wear clothes in the room, he remembered to knock on the door carefully. However, except for Sullivan, Sigsby especially likes to sell his sister, and Thatcher is a little fool. He doesn't care about his sister's situation and opens the door faster than anyone else when he hears the knock on the door. Sigsby stuck out his tongue. Passing by the big magnolia tree, I saw the royal oak sitting on a bench under the shade of the tree, holding Oscar, the black cat that belonged to Bismarck. Passing by the pavilion, I saw Sirius sitting on the bench railing of the pavilion and leaning against the eaves column, holding a book. I feel like she has no sense of existence. I have been back to the townhouse for so long that I almost forgot about her. Normally, white hair, no mouth, and camel toes shouldn't be so a Karen. Sugu walked to the front of the office and suddenly didn't know what to do. Something is better. The autumn wind blows up the fallen leaves on the ground. Sugu hesitated and walked to the kitchen. He was not looking for Yuxian's pair of stunning legs, but mainly to find Xiao Changchun. This girl must be in the kitchen. He did not go directly from the cafeteria, but walked to the back of the dormitory building, passing through the vegetable fields and tall grape trellises. Seeing that it was winter, all the grape leaves had naturally fallen off, leaving only the bare and ugly grapevines. Branches and wires, push open the screen door and directly enter the back kitchen. Ningai, Pinghai, Chongqing, and Yuxian are all here, and Scharnhorst is also here. She likes Chinese culture and is relatively close to the fishery administration. Everyone is busy with something. Among them, Chongqing, Yuxian and Scharnhorst are wearing cheongsam. Chongqing's legs are quite beautiful, but unfortunately they are not outstanding. Yuxian and Scharnhorst are amazing. Sugu asked deliberately, the weather is so cold, do you still want to wear cheongsam? Beautiful and freezing. It's okay if you get answers like it's not cold and it's okay. But what if you are shy and don't wear it tomorrow? Looking around, Changchun was indeed here. She was the only one doing nothing. She moved a small mat and sat in front of the stove, shaking her head and humming some song. Her legs were shaking for some reason. It must not be cold. He was wearing a sweatshirt and trousers, and the fire was burning brightly on the stove. Pinghai noticed this. Sugu waved to her, and then walked to Changchun. Changchun, what are you doing? Changchun turned around and found that it was Sugu. She said, mine. Sugu was simply confused, what's mine and yours? What's mine is mine. Sugu saw the charcoal ash rising in front of the stove, and he became amused, what are you grilling? Changchun said, what did you say? I don't understand. I won't eat yours. Sugushun picked up the tongs and pushed away the charcoal ashes, revealing the sweet potatoes and potatoes. He thought for a moment, I want a sweet potato. Changchun decisively refused, no. Sugu said, then I want potatoes. Everything is mine. Changchun said, mine. 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 Sugu said, stingy. Pouting his lips, Changchun snatched the tongs from Sugu's hand and buried the potatoes and sweet potatoes with charcoal ash. You actually dared to deny yourself food. Sugu couldn't help but lecture him, everyone is working, but you are the only one sitting here. Aren't you the same? I just came. Yuxian came over at some point. She put a bamboo basket of peanuts in front of Sugu and Changchun and said, both of you, please do something for me. Peel the peanuts. Got it. Even though the long, fair, and jade-like legs were so close, Sugu just made an unexpected move. He took a peanut, pressed it hard and peeled the shell open. The peanut kernels were poured into the yellow enamel basket inside the bamboo basket. Juan, seeing that the girl on the other side didn't move, said, "Changchun, it's time to do something." "I know." Changchun peeled off a peanut and poured the kernels into his mouth. Sugu took another peanut and clamped it with tongs and put it into the stove. He took it out after a while. The peanut shell had turned into black charcoal. He cracked it open with tongs and found that the peanut kernel was still intact. "It tastes good." Changchun followed the same pattern and ate several roasted peanuts, smacking his lips. "It would be great if there was wine." Sugu said, "Little drunkard. Pork head meat, I want to eat pig head meat." Sugu pinched Changchun's cheek. He saw Pinghai and the big steamer behind her. Even if there was sheik hung in the guardhouse, there would definitely be some leftovers in the morning. He commanded, "Changchun, go get some steamed buns and bake them. Get up and eat." Promised to complete the task. Changchun moved quickly this time, standing at attention, saluting, and trotting. Sugu immediately used the tongs and buried her sweet potatoes in different positions, smiling happily. Yuxian looked at him with a helpless expression. "Admiral, why do you act like a child?" Sugu said, "A man is a boy until he dies. Can't understand." Sugu thought to himself that not everyone is busy. As he peeled the peanuts, he asked, "What can you cook with these peanuts?" Yuxian replied, "Pig's feet stewed with peanuts." Washington pig's feet. Changchun came back with steamed buns, with one in her mouth. She didn't know what happened. Sugu picked up the tongs and stirred a little fire from the stove, placed the tongs on top, and put the steamed buns on top. After waiting for a while, Changchun asked, "Is it baked?" "Not good." "Is it okay now?" "Don't be so hasty." Changchun finally realized something was wrong. "Let me look at mine, it's gone." Sugu said, "Don't look at me, I don't know." Stinky Admiral. Changchun still got his wish and got his sweet potatoes back. Sugu forcibly took away half of the sweet potatoes and gave a smaller half to Yuxian. Yuxian took it and smiled softly. Sugu was eating roasted sweet potatoes, and suddenly remembered that when he was a child, he went to his relative's house in the countryside. Everyone gathered around the stove to talk after dinner. He couldn't remember when it started. Heating at home in winter changed from charcoal fires to heaters, and he could no longer bury it at night. A sweet potato, and a roasted sweet potato was harvested the next morning. "Yuxian, I suddenly want to eat glutinous rice cake. When will I make it?" Yuxian said, "It's still early." "That's it." Sugu said, "Make more sausages this year." "Good. There must be someone watching when smoking sausages. Don't make it like last time. If there is only a small amount of sausage, just hang it on the stove and smoke it. If there is a large amount, you still have to smoke grapefruit peels, citrus peels, sugarcane bagasse, etc. There was a slight situation last year. The fire was a bit big, and the string hanging the sausages was burned, causing the sausages to fall into the fire and turn into coke. It was a great loss, which was a pity." Yuxian said, "No problem. Don't make the bacon too fatty." Yuxian insisted, "It's too thin and doesn't taste good." "Relatively thin." Yuxian hesitated for a moment. "Okay. Put some blood sausage in it, it tastes pretty good." Yuxian nodded. Seeing that the buns were almost done, Sugu gave half of them to Yuxian. Changchun didn't. She puffed up her face and said, "Admiral, I'm angry." "It's useless to be angry," Sugu just said. Changchun jumped on him, grabbed his wrist, bit off most of the bun in his hand, showing a proud smile while chewing. "Admiral." Sugu lowered his head and saw Yuxian stretching out her hand. He was a little moved when he saw her gentle smile. Sister Yuxian is partial. Before Sugu could pick it up, Changchun snatched away the other half of the bun. "Bad boy." It wasn't until Yuxian got really busy preparing lunch that Sugu left the kitchen and ran to the cafe. Just as he sat down, he saw the attacker approaching. Can the admiral repair the freezer? Broken. It's not broken. I don't know why it keeps buzzing. I'll go take a look. Sugu followed the attacker into the kitchen of the coffee shop. He saw the problem with the freezer and struggled with it for a while. No, I don't know what's going on, it should be fine with a kick. Juno said, I'll look for reputation, she will definitely fix it. I can't do it, and she can't do it either. Sugu shook his head. Juno left without hesitation. Sugu suddenly felt a little sad. Why didn't you believe me? However, she's not very good at reputation either, and she's not that great yet. Of course, if you let her read for a few days, the result will be another story. A person who knows how to cultivate, she is on her way back to the garrison. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 908. Admiral, you are back. Came back. Yueberi is back. Yueberi, he went to Chuangziu in the morning and returned to the governor's mansion in the afternoon. He just walked into the coffee shop and put down the large and small bags of magazines and comics. When he heard Santiago's words, Sugu was a little confused and didn't react for a while. Santiago wiped his hands on his white apron and said, she is repairing the freezer in the kitchen now. From the hall to the bar, through the aisle and into the kitchen, Sugu saw the dismantled freezer and an unknown red-haired girl squatting next to the freezer, holding a copper pipe. The girl wore red-rimmed glasses and a white coat. She had a lot of stains on her. She was almost certainly Yueberi. Yueberi, are you doing well? I knew all the words, but I didn't recognize them together. The attacker had a cute look on his face. No problem. Yueberi made an okay gesture, it's a joke. Sugu looked at the black round compressor placed on the ground. After all, he was an engineering student. He still recognized it a little. There were also some large and small parts. He thought he wanted to take apart a piece of furniture or something. There was no problem at all. Even if it is installed, it is not difficult. The difficult thing is not to find any parts left next to it after installing it. San Juan, who was leaning on the cupboard and watching, saw him and shouted, Admiral. Sugu responded. The red-haired girl didn't hear it. She seemed very focused. She was fiddling with the parts one by one, touching here and tapping there. She put down the copper pipe in her hand. When she was looking for something, she saw Sugu. She raised her hand to say hello without saying too much. So excited, ah, Admiral, long time no see. Yeah. Long time no see. Sugu just finished speaking and hasn't decided what to say yet. When did you come back? Where did you originally work? Yueberi looked away, no longer paying attention to herself, and shouted, where did the welding gun go? It was Ruhi who solved Sugu's doubts. It's been an hour since Yueberi came back. We were chatting when the attacker suddenly ran over and said that the noise in the freezer was getting louder and louder. Please go take a look, I am much better than you. Can you tell what's wrong? Games play with historical themes, but reality also pays attention to history. In a sense, we reach the same goal through different paths. Sugu thought that Yueberi was set to be a technology expert. The source of the light cruiser Yueberi was that it was born as an experimental ship. The design style was too experimental, so only one ship was built, and no ships of the same type were built. The experiment verified many new technologies and design ideas, which had a huge impact on Japan's cruiser design in the latter part of World War II. I used to work as a researcher at a research institute that belongs to the Kanji headquarters. The reason I learned about the townhouse was because I saw a magazine. Before Ziwakaku finished speaking, Yueberi put the compressor back into the freezer, stood up, and clapped his hands. There is too much work in the institute, and there is no time to read magazines or newspapers. Someone still brought a kettle and called us after some research, it was said that it was a kettle from the deep-sea flagship Deep Sea Dragon, and then I looked at the magazine and found out that the admiral had returned a long time ago and re-established the garrison. Did you find anything out of the research? Sugu asked curiously after hearing about the kettle. On the surface it looks like a hair dryer, but in fact it's a razor. Everyone has worked hard for so long and done so many experiments. Yuebari's expression was quite ugly. It's just an ordinary kettle, used for instant noodles. As if thinking of something tragic again, Yuebari said, when I was in the research institute, I ate instant noodles every day. Consultant Su, isn't there a canteen? Yes, Yuebari said, but it takes 10 minutes to walk from the laboratory. Can't you ask someone to deliver it? When the research reaches a critical moment, you ask me to eat. By the time I want to eat, the rice is already cold. Yuebari squatted on the ground and continued tinkering with the freezer. It's more convenient to have instant noodles. You can eat them whenever you want. 3. It's ready to be soaked. To be honest, I really don't understand, Ruhi said. Where did Deep Sea Longxiang get the kettle? I don't know, Yuebari said. Maybe where I bought it? I know the deep sea flagship is intelligent, but will they still buy things? Ruhi said. When buying something, just grab it, or should I pay for it? I'm just saying casually, for us, the deep sea ship girl is still shrouded in a fog. Ziwikaku suddenly chuckled. Will Fukamai Yamato complain that his subordinates are useless, that they can't deal with even the ship girls, and they have to work overtime every time? Perhaps. All the copper pipes were welded, and Yuebari was almost done. He gestured to Juno, who was standing next to the socket, to plug in the electricity. Juno plugged in the freezer. The freezer ran for a while and there was no abnormal sound anymore. She said happily, it's done. Then I'll put the lid on. Yuebari squatted on the ground again and picked up the Phillips screwdriver and screws. Yuebari installed the freezer thoroughly, wiped it with a rag, and pushed it to its original position in one breath. Girls are magical beings. They can change the water in the water dispenser and unscrew the bottle cap. Is there anything else you need me to do? Me, Mahan spun out of nowhere. She raised her hands high and shouted, Sister Yuebari. Yuebari coughed, please call me doctor. Sister doctor. I had thought about it a long time ago, but there was no way, and I forgot about it later, until Sugu made a giant glove for Odin, and his mind became active again. Mahan took out his scooter. Can you help me put Alfred assembled into transformers? Yuebari asked, how much money have you prepared? Do you still want to charge me? Of course Yuebari was naturally joking. Even though me and Japan didn't want to deal with each other, we were all sisters, so there was no reason for her to refuse her request. When Mahan counted out how much pocket money he had on his hands, Falcon said, there are several fans in the warehouse that are broken. Ziwi said, I remember someone tried to repair it, but he couldn't fix it well. Ruhi, shut up, I'd better fix 2 of them. Sugu thought to himself that there was just something wrong with the wiring. The wiring was trivial. If the switch was broken, he didn't care. Just repair it and it would be fine, as long as the resistor was not broken. Even if it's broken, just throw away the resistor. The worst case scenario is that you can't adjust the gears. If the motor and capacitor are faulty, there's nothing you can do. Yuebari just came back. Let's take a rest first, don't be so anxious. It was just a casual comment at first, but unexpectedly, Yuebari said quietly, I became a repairman. Sugu thought to himself, what all fresh graduates should know is not to reveal at work that they can repair computers. Instead of being in a coffee shop, since we don't need cold drinks and air conditioning anyway, we went back to the izakaya, where there are more Japanese people, and everyone sits together. Ziwikaku asked curiously, Yuebari, did you come up with any inventions in the research institute? No. What? No. Ruhi turned into a money addict. I thought you could invent something. register a patent, and charge a little patent fee for every product that comes off the production line. Yuberry said, I am in the research institute, and any inventions belong to the research institute. Advisor Su, Yuberry, do you want to get a laboratory for you in the town hall? Yuberry replied, I was just about to say something. Mutsu thought for a moment, it's better not to build it here. There is a small building over the garage in this building that can be used as a laboratory. Don't worry, I'm not a mad scientist. I dare to play with anything without a little bit of calculation. I won't cause a big explosion and blow up the whole building. Atago crossed her legs, quite elegantly, and asked expressionlessly, Yuberry, does this count as 300 taels of silver in this place? Haha, it's someone else, not me, Yuberry said, it's no problem. At least the projects I'm working on now are safe. Consultant Su, what topic? Basically it's all about the ship girl, Yuberry said, study the ship equipment of the ship girl and see if it is possible to modify it to increase its power. Or simply transform the main gun into a missile or something like that. The reloading speed will be doubled, and the attack speed will be doubled. The frequency is doubled, the power is doubled, and it can even track the target and fire without missing a beat. Ziwihi said, Kaishin torpedo. It's not that kind of rubbish, Yuberry said. A torpedo that is directly steered by human hands, a suicide weapon used by the Japanese Navy in special offensive operations at the end of the war. Even if you have such a big idea, you still have no choice but to let it go. The torpedo can't save the day. So did you succeed? Sugu thought of the problem of equipment enhancement in many RMB games. Even if it is enhanced, the enhancement will still fail, which he hates. Not yet, Yuberry stared at Sugu, we still need some resources, including time. Sugu said, Yuberry, try this Matsu take. It's very fresh and expensive. Yuberry said, I don't know if the Admiral has noticed that the activities of the deep-sea flagship are becoming more and more frequent. At the same time, they are getting stronger and more numerous. For example, the Deep-Sea Dragon flagship has appeared in recent years. The same goes for Deep-Sea Daifeng, and each one is stronger than the last. A serious problem, if we ship girls don't work hard to become stronger, one day we will be knocked to the ground by deep-sea ship girls. Your tone is a bit familiar to me, is this how you cheat money? Sugu thought for a while, you also belong to the governor's office, don't cheat yourself. And we are just a small town governor. If you don't have much money or resources, you should go to the ship girl headquarters and deceive as much as you want. Yes, Yuberry was politely embarrassed and tried to explain, I mainly thought that if there is funding from the kanji headquarters, wouldn't the results be divided among them? I don't care about research results or anything like that. You don't trust me? No, Sugu changed the topic, are there any other topics? The construction of ship girls by admirals depends entirely on luck, Yuberry said, is there any way to stably build ship girls? Unlike now, some African admirals do not appear more than 10 or dozens of times. Going one step further, can we guarantee that every time rare and powerful battleships will appear in every construction? In the end, whatever ship girl you want to build will be the ship girl you want. Are you also researching this kind of thing? Sugu frowned, I don't know what to say, if you succeed in research, won't those weak destroyers never have a chance to appear again? This is scientific research, no big deal. Yuberry put away her legs, curled up on the chair, and hugged her knees with her hands, it's like your human research, artificial insemination and impregnating infertile people. Give birth to boys and girls. Is there any way to give birth to more outstanding, smart, and beautiful children? If possible, try to avoid children with disabilities, detect them early, and abort them early. Really crazy research, I heard that there is an institute that studies humans and ship girls, trying to let humans have the power of ship girls, and finally the purpose is to create God. Sugu thought to himself that many reasons for the slow development of science and technology in this world were due to the appearance of ship girls and supernatural beings that attracted those scientists. In a world without mystery, Newton also studied theology in his later years, which I won't go into here. Ruhi asked, "After all that, have you succeeded?" Yubari was disappointed. No, no success, no progress at all, not even a clue." Ziwihi started to laugh. She was the kind of person who only knew how to achieve results. If she didn't achieve results, it would be a waste. Yubari was immediately dissatisfied. She glanced at Ziwihi and said, "We have already done research on how to make a flat chest like yours plumper, and we will have results soon." Sugu thought to himself, it couldn't be silicone injection. Ruhi punched the table. "Am I equal? Aren't you almost there?" "What did you say?" Yubari frowned. Even if he was a scientist, he was a girl after all, so he didn't care. The Grand Canyon is famous, so Colorado has a rather exaggerated figure, with high mountains and deep valleys. Yubari honeydew melon is quite famous, even known as the best fruit in the world, so you have to compare the goods. Yubari's breasts are not at the level of honeydew melon, and are quite barren. Akage doesn't care about this kind of thing at all. She sits at the bar and eats happily, various snacks and sushi. Mutsu stood up and said, "Stop arguing." Yubari and Ziwihi both turned to her, their eyes falling on her chest. "Get out of here." It was Sugu who smoothed things over and changed the subject. "Yubari, if you need anything for your research laboratory, please report it so that we can purchase it when the time comes." Yubari said, "I can't explain clearly at the moment. I wonder if Shuangziu sells it." Sugu was originally stuck on returning, and soon it was time for dinner. Walking in the corridor, Ziwihi looked at Yubari's back. She was quite vindictive, and she still hasn't forgotten it. She kept mumbling, "What's the air? You must have several layers of breast pads." Sugu heard this and said, "To be honest, there are really not many people in the town who are better than you. You should please Yubari. Maybe you will find some breast enlargement medicine sometime." Ziwihi glanced at Sugu. "I'm going to ask Yubari if he has researched a medicine to make men more." Sugu was still a little confident. He held down Ruhi's head and said, "I want you to look good tonight. I won't ask for mercy." Ziwikaku grimaced. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai Rong Yan. Chapter 909. Yubari has been busy with the laboratory these days, just cleaning the room next to the garage. The work of dividing the site, arranging water and electricity, installing protective nets, etc. has just begun. Many strange rumors have been spread in the town hall. Every night in Sister Yubari's office, you can hear a heart-wrenching sound, like fingernails scratching the blackboard. It's creepy. Be careful, don't talk to her, otherwise she will catch you in the office and you will be locked up with chains as thick as your hands, and a flashlight will be shined on your eyes and mouth. You will also be given injections, arms and buttocks, and slice experiments will be performed. Don't hear anything about Yubari. Add new functions to your ship's equipment. She will only mess up your ship's equipment. Maybe the turret will turn into a water cannon. I heard that the Admiral has asked Yubari to research a medicine. It is not an ordinary medicine, but a medicine that is useful even for ship girls. Then I just need to tap you on the shoulder or let someone smell something, and you will, if you are confused, you will do whatever they ask you to do, and you will take off your clothes when they ask you to take off your clothes. When you wake up, you will find that you have been ruined. I don't know who is taking the lead. Many people guess that it is most likely Missouri. She likes to do this kind of thing best. Maybe Wisconsin, who usually looks like an iceberg beauty, actually likes to trick people and watch shows. The four 8-level sisters, typical JKS, can be said to be the most gossipy people in the guardhouse. There is also a Mahan, who must be one of them. Yuberi was busy in the laboratory and had no time to help her assemble Alfred the motorcycle into Transformers, so he held a grudge. In addition, she used to go to school at the frontline base and heard many urban rumors, such as the abandoned building was actually a dismantling room, specializing in dismantling useless ship girls. She usually liked to say that it was scary everywhere in the garrison. The laboratory cannot be completed in a short time. Even if someone helps, it seems that there will be no more than half a month without thinking about it. At the end of November, the cold air probably moved southward, and it suddenly became cold overnight. Long clothes and long trousers are absolutely essential. Firefly even put on a scarf early. In addition, she has dozens of scarves of various styles. She also wears a scarf with her husband. Unfortunately, it is obviously not as good as the Flying Eagle and Falcon sisters. Wear a scarf to look pretty and cute. It would be a great pleasure to move a deck chair and bask in the sun in the governor's mansion. Of course, the various snacks and drinks placed on the small round table next to it are also indispensable. This is the most comfortable way to sleep at night. Unfortunately, being able to sleep with someone in your arms and enjoy the ultimate warmth is a privilege that only a few people can have. It has just entered December, and I don't know why the weather is getting warmer again. The weather is so changeable. A few days had passed since December, and Sugu and Bazai slept together that day. Get up, I usually get up late by myself and need someone to wake me up. Bazai is special, and Zayazai is also special. Sugu had already gotten up and finished washing. He stood by the bed, patting the quilt and patting Bazai. Bazai woke up in a daze. She did not cultivate immortality at night. After all, how could she cultivate immortality with Sugu here? The reason was simple. 10 hours was not enough sleep. She didn't care about the time at all. She hugged the quilt tighter, tossed and turned, and swatted Sugu's hand away like a fly. I'll sleep some more. Without any pity, Sugu lifted up the quilt with a straight face and said, get up. It's so cold. Bazai was wearing a cotton nightgown and slowly curled up into a ball, still indifferent. Sugu saw a pair of smooth long legs under Bazai's nightgown. He patted them hard and made a pop sound. You have gained weight again. Oh, Bazai didn't care. Of course Bazai is not fat, he is still the same, wearing clothes to look thinner and taking off clothes to show off his flesh. Sugu thought to himself that the ship mother is really a magical life. The person she cares about controls her diet every day for fear of gaining weight. At a certain period of time, she ate too many late-night snacks, but she immediately gained weight without losing weight. For those who don't care, Akage, Quincy, Teho, and Kitai especially like junk food. They have recently fallen in love with tempura, and it doesn't matter how they eat it. Bazai squinted his eyes, fumbled with the quilt, pulled it up and covered it again. Sugu never uses a dressing table, it always feels weird. The dressing table in his room is used by many wedding couples, among which Lexington uses it the most. After all, she uses it once a week. He stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror in the closet, arranging his clothes, scratching his hair, pulling out a hair and twisting it. My hair is a bit long, I need to cut it. Would you like me to cut your head bald? Bazai's voice sounded, and she finally woke up. Sugu turned around and saw that Bazai had rolled up the quilt and turned into a caterpillar. He said angrily, let me give you a bald head. Okay, Bazai said, it's troublesome to wash your hair. Hey, are you so lazy? Sugu said, you are also lazy to a certain extent. A girl can't even bother to wash her hair. She usually only eats an apple, but Bismarck said she had to peel it before she could eat it, so she couldn't put it down. Eat and rob the small house. Bizai said angrily, you help Xiaozai peel the apples, but if you don't help me, I will still be the wedding host. She's a child, you're an adult, I'll help you peel it too. Sugu is the kind of person who is too lazy to move when someone takes care of him. He is no different from Bizai in front of Lexington. Even when there is no one to take care of him, he is also a good hand when he has to take care of others. Okay, you help me. Bizai rolled on the bed. She thought about it again and said weakly, your hair is so short. I don't know how troublesome it is for girls to wash their hair. You also need conditioner. I need shampoo again, rub it, it's a big lump, and it takes a lot of effort. Rinse is also very troublesome, and water gets in my eyes if I don't pay attention. Finally, I wipe it with a towel, but it's still wet after wiping it for a long time. It's hard to dry my long hair. You have medium to long hair, Sugu said, cut it short, like your sister, like Xiaozai. You shameful short-haired person, well, I don't want it. If it were cut short, wouldn't it be very featureless? Bizai said, can you wash it for me? Not good, Sugu said, I can make enough food and clothing by myself. Bizai said dully, you also said you like me. Like is not indulgence. You help Xiaozai wash it? It's just that I didn't wash her before, but now I don't wash it for her. I do not care. Okay, I'll help you wash your hair. In fact, Sugu also washed his wife's hair. For example, when they took a shower together, he pinched Bizai's cheek. It was fleshy and felt great. Look at it. Time, you really have to get up now. If you don't get up, your sister will come. She will beat you then, and I can't stop her. Bizai sat up little by little, as if he had put in a lot of effort. Of course he was still wrapped in the quilt. Bring me my clothes. Sugu picked up Bizai's clothes that were placed on the back of the ivory white solid wood upholstered chair, and threw it unceremoniously in her face. He was an out-and-out lazy house. Bizai rolled over, got out of the quilt, and began to take off his pajamas, revealing his infinitely beautiful body. Sugu looked at Bizai wearing underwear, black lace underwear, with a bracelet hanging on her back, Bismarck's underwear. I don't know. Bizai lives with her sister Bismarck, so her clothes are naturally kept together. She doesn't wear Bismarck's clothes specifically, but she is too lazy to tell which one belongs to whose clothes. Sugu said, you are hopeless. Not just casually, Suguhan felt that her hair was a bit too long and needed to be cut. He didn't find Lexington. Her skills were questionable. She cut his hair for the first time when they met. The filing hairstyle is still unforgettable. Fortunately, there was no real hair cutting. The reputation of the head maid is reassuring. It has to be said that it is difficult to change from luxury to frugality. In the past, I still did it by myself. Of course, there was nothing I could do about my hair. Now, I have to pick my ears, cut my fingernails, and clip my toenails. Please her. In the afternoon, Sugu sat under a tree, surrounded by a piece of white cloth, prestige, you know, thin it and cut it short. Don't worry. Sheng Sheng touched Sugu's hair and held the clippers in his hand. Sugu said, no one can worry about it. You can absolutely rest assured about your reputation. It's not about saying nice things, it's about telling the truth. Yes, yes, yes. When he started cutting his hair, Sugu said, sometimes I get really angry, like the freezer in the cafe broke a few days ago, the water pump broke a long time ago, and the yacht was painted last month. I directed they ask all kinds of questions and feel uneasy, they have to have you come. He continued, what happened? I made a mistake. They said that the admiral was too inferior. You made a mistake. They said that reputation can make mistakes sometimes. What I did and it was completed successfully, they said it was so simple and no big deal. No matter what you did, they are perfect and chic maids. This difference in treatment is too obvious. Reputation laughed a little, I don't know why. You can be proud of it. Reputation smile. What were you complaining to me about a few days ago? I used to think that as long as I worked harder, I would be able to catch up with my sister. Suddenly I found that the faster I walked, the faster my sister walked. Sheng Sheng put down the clippers and replaced them with dental scissors, saying, you have worked hard to fight back. As a sister, I can't lag behind. I heard a counterattack saying that you have recently started seeing home appliances repaired. Is it because you can't repair the freezer? Do you want to do this? Do you want others to live? Sheng Sheng said, just taking a look, I don't understand many things. If it were you, as long as it takes a year and a half, I don't think it would be a dream to catch up with Yoberry. It won't work. The reputation is self-aware. I have learned too much and can't concentrate. I can only get 90 points at most, but there is absolutely no way to compare with the top 100 points. I've said it before, to be honest, they say that there is no one who can't do the decathlon and have the reputation of a perfect maid and war god, so if I encounter any problems, I will definitely find you as soon as possible. Then in order to live up to everyone, you work hard. Well, if you don't know it, study hard. I want to tell you, don't be too stressed. If you don't know it, you won't know it. If you make a mistake, you will make a mistake. It's no big deal. Admiral, don't worry, it's okay. Sheng Sheng said, someone needs me, which is a happy thing for me. It's good that you know. Well, look at you again. Sugu sighed, I think of Huda, you are so busy every day, and I still need you to take care of me. Hood actually, well, let me think about it. Forget it. Sugu laughed, you don't know what to say, Huda, you only spend the whole day doing afternoon tea or petting the cat. Speaking of which, Shishi and Vanguard are back, and Yuberry is also back. There aren't many people wandering around anymore. Sugu said, I think of Lin Xian. She was originally with the Prince of Wales and the others, but later left. London is similar to her. London has been back in the townhouse for so long, but she hasn't moved at all. I used to think about whether she was with you, and then I thought about whether she was with the lion, but nothing happened. Don't worry, it will be fine. Sugu thought for a moment, and when he and Helena were chatting about the lion not long ago, he laughed and said, maybe he is on his way back. Maybe it's right in front of the gate of the governor's mansion. Sheng Sheng had already cut his hair. He took a sponge and dipped a little toner in it to sweep away the broken hair. Get ready to wash your hair. Sugu said, think about it and just take a shower. It's up to you. Together. It's not the right thing to do. Sheng Sheng swatted away Sugu's outstretched hand. That night Sugu said, bunny girl. After several days, Lin Xian did not come back. A week has passed and Lin Xian has not come back yet. On this day, Sugu received an invitation. There was nothing important. It was that the admiral whom he knew before finally got the coveted light cruiser Ninghai, and invited himself. In the coffee shop, Saratoga sat next to Sugu, pushing his arm, brother-in-law, 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 me. I'll think about it. Sugu hesitated. Since he was attending the banquet, he naturally had to bring a battleship that could blind the eyes of those African admirals. Sister-in-law Saratoga had no problem, but she had attended similar banquets several times. Brother-in-law, 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 me, Ruhi sat opposite Sugu. She didn't care about attending any banquet, but she just couldn't stand Saratoga. Saratoga glared at Ziwihi and said, what did you call brother-in-law? Why can't I shout? Saratoga said, your sister is not a wedding ship. Sooner or later. Saratoga and Ruhi quarreled, and Sugu walked away decisively and walked to the table where many little Lolita gathered. I saw them playing the Monopoly game. The Lucky Lafite was unlucky this time. He only had one property left. He was about to go bankrupt and was still hanging on. It's my turn. Cushing, you're in the cell again. The sky is bright and the earth is bright. Kong Xiang shook the dice, threw it on the table, and shouted, 6, 6, 6. Sugu reached out and touched Kong Xiang's long, smooth white hair. She was wearing a long skirt with many ruffles. The little princess was really beautiful and cute. I liked her very much, but she was too skinny and a sports girl. Sugu raised his head and saw Richelieu walking by. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 910. After receiving the invitation, he decided to attend the banquet. Sugu arrived at his destination on time that afternoon. Walking in the luxurious manner like governor's mansion, Sugu thought to himself that the host of the banquet could almost be said to be the richest admiral among all the admirals. I traveled to this world and owned the garrison in the game. I got a super invincible golden finger. The other party was born in a super rich family. To a certain extent, Goldfinger was no worse than him. Someone Sugu. Stepping on the stone road with his black boots, Sugu suddenly heard a greeting. He turned around and saw the Admiral Zhang Zijun whom he knew before. Master Zhang. So early. Aren't you about the same? Won't you introduce me? Fantasy. Sugu saw Zhang Zijun's eyes. He raised his left hand slightly and held the hand of a white-haired girl. He didn't want to hold it, but he couldn't hold it. He was afraid that the girl wouldn't know how to run away if she wasn't paying attention. Where did he go? Then he looked at the tall beauty on the right and said, "And this is Richelieu." Zhang Zijun's expression was condensed, and he waved his hand. He picked up his female companion, the secretary ship, which was also the wedding ship, and waved, "Goodbye." Sugu looked at Zhang Zijun's retreating figure and stretched out his hand feebly. He fell into melancholy, wondering if this was the case. Am I that terrible? His expression was very happy. It's really strange, sir, that you want to shout, Admiral. Kong Xiang asked, who is that? You don't know me even if you tell me. Oh, after walking a few steps together, Kong Xiang looked around. It's so big here, much bigger than our town house. Yes, it's much bigger than our town hall. Sugu was a little sad, thinking that when he entered, he refused the request of the housekeeper who received the guests to send an attendant to lead the way, saying that he had been here several times. I'm really not pretending. The other party's garrison is indeed so big that it's easy to get lost. I don't know if it occupies a larger area than the university where I was. The rich man's government office. Sugu thought for a moment and said, it's not just big, do you know? There is a tiger in the backyard here, a real tiger, as well as red pandas, little raccoons, swans, eagles, and peacocks, lots and lots of animals. I want to see. There is also a private train that goes around half of the town. I want to play. Sugu squatted on the ground and didn't speak. Kong Xiang kissed him. Okay. Okay, I'll ask you about it, and I'll take you to see it when the time comes. Take a small train. Admiral Richelieu spoke, her voice revealing helplessness. She meant to ask you, Admiral, to be more careful. Sugu said, it's okay, there's no one. Sugu imagined that the girl was wearing a white dress. Looking at Richelieu again, he saw that her long, brilliant golden hair was not tied up, revealing her slender and graceful neck, but simply draped behind her back. Both hands were wearing black lace gloves that reached to the arms, and were holding a blue ribbon. Wearing a red breast-wrapped gown embroidered with gold, the sides of the skirt were opened so high, revealing her sexy black lace legs. In short, beautiful. Why bring these two people? The little princess dreams of being cute and beautiful. She likes it? I won't give you any more reasons. In fact, when I first thought about who to bring to the banquet, the first thing that came to mind was Lion. She was really the perfect choice. She has an invincible figure that surpasses all others. She has longer legs than Fuzu and the Prince of Wales, bigger breasts than Euxian and Scharnhorst, and has an oppressive height. She is an absolute queen in a gorgeous dress with an arrogant expression. No matter where you are, you will definitely be the focus of everyone. In the past, when I represented the Kanyang headquarters on missions to various countries, it was largely not about my ability, but mainly about my image. But think about it, the lion has never been taken out before. The first appearance is of course when the company invites all the admirals in the nearby sea area to a meeting, or it is an invitation from the governor, which blinds everyone's eyes when he appears. There is no way to kill a chicken with a knife. The standards of this banquet are high but not high. Just look at the gorgeous fountain pool not far away and the palace-like building in the distance. The banquet is not high. Apart from being rich, the master doesn't really have much influence, so I'm afraid there won't be many admirals participating. Therefore, there is no one to show off to. After all, every wedding ship has been eaten and wiped clean. Do you still need to be so concerned about it? Well, of course you have to take it seriously. Just say one thing, it would be great if the admiral had a monogamy system. There is only so much food and too many taxes. Wisconsin is not yet her own ship girl. Fuzu, Shaokeku, Yitsun, etc. don't like this kind of banquet at all. Mutsu is probably very interested, and Washington, actually there is not much reason. I feel that Richie has been too neglected recently. After staying, Washington often worked together. Walking into the castle and into the splendid hall, Sugu saw beautiful crystal lamps of all sizes hanging down from the huge towering sky, creating a magnificent atmosphere. What should you do first when you arrive at the banquet venue? It is definitely not just to go directly to the bar or snack area, get food and drinks, and then sit in a comfortable corner to enjoy the food. It is etiquette to first find the host of the party and say hello. Sugu and Richelieu walked to a pillar with fantasy. When he saw a beautiful woman wearing a white admiral uniform, he smiled, little fish. Their names are Yuqin, some are called Xiaoyu, and some are called Xiaoyu. They all seem to be similar. Su, here we come. Coming. Hey, this is my Ningai, how about it? Yuqin was a little excited and looked at the cute girl next to him. The girl was a little shy and seemed a little unaccustomed to such an occasion. Congratulations, in fact, no introduction is needed. Sugu recognizes Ninghai. Whether she recognizes herself is another question. She is the sister of the sisters who used to open a hot pot restaurant in the county where the company is located. Is it only Ninghai? What about Pinghai? She's not here. I don't know where she went. She seems to be in the garden. Consultant Su, did you get her too? The revolution has not yet succeeded, comrades still need to work hard. Yuqin made a cheering gesture, it's just a little bit close. After saying hello, chatting for a while, and bidding farewell to Yuqin, everyone sat down on the sofa by the floor-to-ceiling window. Kong Xiang ran to get some snacks, and came back soon, lying on the table, swinging her legs, looking pleased with herself, because the plate in front of her was piled high with all kinds of food, ready to eat. Consultant Su, Sister Li, what do you want? Richelieu said, I took it myself. The juice seemed a bit unfavorable, so Sugu found red wine with a comparable alcohol content. Thanks to the Prince of Wales, he knew a lot about red wine. He held the wine glass and listened to the beautiful piano sound coming from the corner. It was said that the player was a world-renowned grand pianist, but unfortunately he couldn't hear anything famous. Just like the unicorn who usually performs the harp for him, she is also a master. He can't hear the gurgling water, or the fiery red maple leaves falling on the clear stream, creating circles of ripples, and flowing along with the water. While floating, I just heard a sound. In fact, there is another possibility. Hood is the best at pretending, and he is very good at talking. He looked at the maids in black and white maid uniforms walking through the hall. On the long dining tables on both sides of the hall, there was a dazzling array of expensive food, such as snowflake steak, prawns, caviar, and sashimi. These things were usually not eaten in the town hall. Even though the town hall there is a lot of money coming in every month, there are too many people opening their mouths to eat, and the exquisite silver tableware and beautiful bone china plates are like works of art. He looked at the guests wearing white admiral uniforms, and he recognized most of them, as well as the ship girls accompanying them, the cute little Loli, who was originally a lady. They chatted together for a while and then immediately became excited and started Zaza who started running around, showing a knowing smile. Long time no see. Sugu saw Yujin and said hello. Sugu saw that Mutsu next to Yujin had a similar figure to his own Mutsu, with a different face. He was very lustful, but not that lustful. After all, the admiral was a girl and usually lacked performance, so he was much weaker. It became funny. Mutsu, are you ready to fulfill your promise? Mutsu, who was wearing sexy clothes, raised his head and said in disgust, don't talk to me, I don't know you. Sugu said, don't be trustworthy. Mutsu said, I didn't say when it would be fulfilled. Mutsu went to talk to Richelieu, and Su's advisor Yujin was indispensable in almost every meeting. Has brother Chen married his secretary ship West Virginia? Don't talk about him. Yujin waved his hand, and Sugu already knew the answer. Just like every Chinese New Year, your elders ask you how your test scores were and how your girlfriend was. Sugu said, Yujin, I heard you say last time that your family urged you to go on a blind date. How was the blind date? Yujin said angrily, I suddenly realized that you are a bit in need of a spanking. Sugu raised his hands in surrender, just ask politely. Yujin rubbed his forehead and looked like he had a splitting headache, I will never go home except to celebrate the new year. Then my parents, alas, I don't know what to say, they actually led people to find my guard house. A house architect, who looks like a human being. He said that he has always wanted to be an admiral, but unfortunately he failed the exam. He kept asking me, what is it like to be an admiral? A crooked man in his 30s, who just started a company and had a little money. You didn't look at me from beginning to end, just staring at Mutsu, or something. Sugu glanced at Yujin's chest, which was pretty shriveled, and then looked at Mutsu. To be honest, Mutsu's figure is much better than yours. If it were me, I'd look at Mutsu too. Shut up. Yujin glared at Sugu, I have already told you that I have a wife, my young wife Bai Shui, and they insist on a blind date with me. Sugu shook his head. What happened to Plan M? This was something Sugu would ask every time he saw Yujin. Yujin said, you are talking about Plan M. She is no longer the captain of the military police. Isn't it appropriate? Sugu was a little surprised, so it turns out that he was acting properly. I'm not sure why, but it's just inappropriate. Yujin said, now the captain of the military police is a heavy cruiser USS San Francisco. She is an unsmiling white-haired iceberg beauty. Sometimes she can be a bit dull. Sugu thought, to explain San Francisco's character from a historical perspective, San Francisco once mistakenly targeted the friendly USS Atlanta and caused serious damage to it. Advisor Su, if you are no longer the captain of the military police, where will Plan M go? She's still in the gendarmerie, but she's not the gendarmerie captain anymore, Yujin said. Yesterday, I saw her skateboarding. The car overturned again and her head hit the ground. She sat on the steps in front of the office building all afternoon. It was a rare gathering where a lot of information needed to be exchanged. Yujin and Sugu found a corner where many admirals gathered. Did you hear about it? There is a big admiral from northeast China who only almost defeated the Soviet Union through drinking. It's a bit of a pity. There is nothing to regret. I can't get it, and others can't get the best either. Kiev is really cute. The peripheral products of deep-sea Musashi purple cabbage are finally on the market. I saw it in the underground mall of Kawahide Central Plaza, the same store where the light cruiser Gothic Lion opened. Someone saw Sugu. Everyone, stop, stop, Boss Su is here. Boss Su, please cover me up. The world's #1 European, no, Martian, shake hands, I want European energy, I want a capital ship. Me first. Sugu said helplessly, don't make noises, I'm just a junior admiral. Booze. Someone asked, Su, didn't Tianhao come with you? Sugu said, I didn't ask him. Eugene recognized Tianhao and snorted, it seems that I haven't seen him attending any parties. I used to be very enthusiastic about attending parties. The speaker shook his head and sighed, I don't blame him. He has been an admiral for so many years, but there is only one Kaohsiung. Sugu saw a person dodging, an admiral with only a destroyer. He waved his hand, young Master Mu, are you here too? I remember your garrison is quite far away from here. Young Master Mu, also known as Mu Cheng, said, I am coming from far away, and I still count on Yuqin to take care of my family's business. Sugu said, what kind of business does Yuqin's family do? Some said opening a bank, some said chain stores, some said logistics companies, and some said opening a newspaper. Wouldn't you know if you just ask her, Mu Cheng sneered, there are all of them, and not just that. Otherwise, why do you think she is so rich? Just take a look at her garrison. I haven't seen you yet. How many times have I built it? Consultant Su asked, have you gained anything? Do not ask me. Sugu said, this place is not far from my place. After the banquet, come to my town to have some fun. I won't go. Mu Cheng decisively refused and went. Seeing so many coveted battleships, what should I do if I have a myocardial infarction? Sugu said, are we friends? Mu Cheng suddenly patted Sugu, hey, Su, Richelieu, someone is trying to impress you. Sugu turned her head and saw Richelieu standing next to the dining table, holding a plate and taking food. A tall and handsome admiral stood beside her. The two of them were talking, but of course there was no ambiguity, they are just a normal conversation. Eugene's voice sounded from behind Sugu, I know that person, he was in the same class as me. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 911. Call it pedantic. After all, we are not in ancient times. We don't pay attention to anything. Call it stubborn. If a person's heart is made of flesh, the heart of a ship girl is made of steel. She is unswerving. Okay, anyway, if a ship girl recognizes someone as an admiral, it will be a lifelong matter. People's hearts change easily, and it's not without the admiral's personality changing drastically. A good person turned evil and ugly, and was finally kicked away by the ship girl who couldn't stand it. But even so, the ship girl would only choose to be alone. Perhaps in their minds, they are still expecting the admiral to change their lives, or the ship girls may have gone deep into the depths of the sea alone and no one will see them again, their hearts are filled with despair and they regret their original decision. Not to mention that an admiral pursues a ship girl who already has an admiral. This is absolutely not allowed. Once you do it once, I'm afraid there will be no admirals to deal with you in the future. There are everyone, and maybe one or two people will appear. It depends on the consequences, it's uncertain. No matter what, for so long, there have been cases of ship girls abandoning admirals, or even killing their own admirals. There are so many stories about ship girls soaking admirals in formalin, but there has never been one story about ship girls abandoning admirals. Separately vote on other admiral matters. It's not a big deal to watch the excitement. Mu Cheng and Eugene were making noises nearby, but Sugu didn't pay much attention to Richelieu who was talking to a handsome admiral not far away, thinking that the two of them would probably break up after just a few words. Well, you won't go over and declare your sovereignty over Richelieu like a little boy, and don't worry that Richelieu will run away with others. His name is Zhongan. I remember when I first met him, he was still a shy little boy, but he grew up quickly. Eugene talked about the handsome Admiral Zhongan, how he was in the academy before, and what happened when he became an admiral later. The ship girl values a person's innocent heart, and when you have an innocent heart, being handsome is of course the best thing. Well, I have managed to get several ship girls with my handsome looks. Eugene talked for a long time. Sugu saw over there that Zhongan and Richelieu had not yet separated. Suddenly a hand hugged him. It was his former classmate named Duma, who interrupted him. "Su, you've got the Colossus in the academy, right?" "What's done?" Sugu shrugged his shoulders and signaled Duma to let go of him. Duma said, "Remember what month it is?" "I saw the Colossus in the academy. I originally wanted to pursue it, but after asking someone, I found that it is already yours." "No, I heard that she spends half of the month in your townhouse, and you still say she's not." "I just like to come over and play." Sugu was modest. He thought to himself that for the Colossus, he didn't have much thought about fishing for the boat at the beginning. He just let nature take its course. It's a bit tacky. The girl has no breasts and butt, but she is still a talker. Of course, the girl is still very cute and lovable, and she doesn't dislike her. I don't know when I realized something was wrong. She is almost there, but she hasn't called me Admiral yet, so I can only say that she is stable." Duma said, "Where is the fear?" "He is the instructor at the Aircraft Carrier Academy now." "No, I just said a few words." Someone interjected, "Awesome, Duma, do you have any ideas about her?" "I remind you to be careful, she is very fierce, full of garbage, garbage, garbage. I suspect she is actually a slut." Shaking, another person interrupted, "I like it. Maybe Yandere. Also." Eugene poked Sugu's waist with his finger, "Remember to put bulletin now away. Don't use such ambiguous words as collect." Eugene said, "Have you also suffered from her rotten character?" "I'm feeling better now." "No way, how did you train him?" Sugu thought of Daifeng holding a straight umbrella and waving it fiercely, and he said, "Just give him a beating." Duma's voice sounded, "What to use?" "Don't be so dirty, okay," Sugu saw Duma. "This guy likes to read books. It's thanks to him that he was able to find Bazai in the first place. His favorite thing to do is to paint the swimsuit of a beautiful woman in a swimsuit black to make a rectangle. And suddenly the beauty in a swimsuit turned into a beauty without any clothes. He was a little helpless, thinking why the people he knew were like this. It was definitely not like birds of a feather flocking together or people flocking together. Forget it, admit it, those military backgrounds or their personalities were like this, serious and rigid admirals. They could talk normally, but they won't become friends. Chen Nan still got to know him because she was an intern at his place. Otherwise, they would be just casual acquaintances at most. Duma said, "I was just saying it casually." "You immediately thought wrong. You must have thought about it normally." Sugu quickly denied, "No." Duma said, "I read the magazine and saw that she is so beautiful. I am sure, certain that you will never let her go." "Stop, stop, stop talking about this." Sugu tried to change the subject. "Didn't you just say that you wanted to pursue something awesome?" "Yes. A word from you, a word from me, ended the terrible topic. It turns out that there are many people who want to pursue her, and everyone depends on their ability anyway." Someone else asked about the previous academy instructors Chi Bolin and Akagya, and Sugu briefly explained. "It is completely unimaginable that Zeppelin is holding the destroyer and telling them stories, and hitting the destroyer's palms and buttocks with a pointer can barely be imagined. Sugu thought to himself that the problem Zeppelin encountered was very serious. She could not defeat a group of little Lolita. She was completely bullied. Over time, she could only take another route. The Zeppelin talk didn't last long. Someone complained, "I'm really hummed. Are you angry or not? I was in Minghu County. I sank many deep-sea warships." The newspaper reported that some people said that the old hens were claiming credit for laying eggs and clucking. Later, they didn't. It has been reported, or there are no deep-sea ship girls, and some people say, "What use are you?" If the deep-sea ship girls appear and attack somewhere, to be honest, they are proactive and we are passive. It is impossible that no problems will arise, and it will be serious. Someone said, "I am in Lianshan Bay, and someone comes to collect taxes. Isn't there a rule that the town government does not pay taxes?" Someone laughed funnily, "What are you talking about? I'm in the Orange Islands, and someone actually came to my townhouse to collect protection money. When I first chose the townhouse, I chose a place with simple folk customs. In the past few years, I rarely encountered any scandals. When I walked in the county town, people occasionally greeted me, and they respected me very much." Thinking like this, everyone was talking and no one was disturbing him. Sugu looked over at the dining table again. Richelieu and Zhongan were no longer there. The two people were frowning slightly on the sofa where everyone was sitting when they arrived. Frowned. Really concerned, Sugu patted Eugene on the shoulder and said he was leaving first. Admiral Richelieu called when she saw Sugu coming back and sitting down next to her. "Hello, Admiral Su, I've heard about you a long time ago. I'm glad to see you." Zhongan also saw Sugu and stretched out his hand. After introducing each other, Sugu learned that Zhongan and Richelieu knew each other and had been transferred here recently. He had been an admiral in some western city before, and before returning to the garrison, Richelieu was also in that city. "Not long after you left, Fortress Surge attacked a passing freighter. Everyone was preparing to attack. A series of things happened, but nothing happened in the end. Chen Xiangxian, ask Axiang, she is very good." Zhongan and Richelieu were talking, and Sugu couldn't get in the way at all. He sat for a while, feeling a little embarrassed, and sat next to Xianxiang. She just wanted to dig out the pudding with a spoon. She had been following Richelieu, and naturally knew everything. She whispered, "Admiral, let me tell you, that person used to chase Sister Richelieu." After a while, Zhongan left. Sugu glanced at Richelieu and said, "Are you done?" Sugu said, "I just want to say, your former suitor." Richelieu said, "So be it." A little worried, Sugu looked at Zhongan's leaving figure and smiled, "Much more handsome than me, what do you think, Richelieu?" Richelieu said, "There are many admirals who are more handsome than you." Sugu said, "I don't like hearing what you are saying. Among all the admirals, my appearance is at least above average. It's good to have confidence." "I didn't say top, it's definitely above average." Sugu was still a little confident. Richelieu said, "Yes, there is." Sugu was dissatisfied and shouted, "Utopia, you come, you say. The admiral is the most handsome." Kong Xiang raised his hands. "My love for you is not in vain, my little princess." Sugu was deeply relieved and touched the girl's head. The girl was so happy that she rubbed his hand like a puppy. Richelieu just watched Sugu and Xianfang playing around. Repaying kindness with hatred has always been the case. Sugu snatched half of the pudding from Fantasy and looked at Zhongan, who was standing with a beautiful girl not far away, who must be the ship's girl. "That Zhongan," Sugu said, "Eugene's classmate, I just heard Eugene say, is quite amazing." He had not graduated from the college before, and he was just a first-year student who fished the light cruiser Longtian, one of the faculty members of the college. "Arrive." Sugu shook his head and said, "Look at the woman next to him. She used to have a stern face, with an expression of 'Who are you?' but now she is smiling. Yes, she is handsome, eloquent, and attractive to women. Children like it, like just now, I saw you were talking so happily, and I really couldn't bear to disturb you. Richelieu sipped the wine glass gently, then suddenly put it down and looked at Sugu. She seemed to have heard it, and it was not an illusion. Her admiral's words seemed a bit sour. Ha ha, Sugu Xiao Xiao sneered, 7 wedding ships, there are many ship girls suitable for marriage, and they can only marry so many. He only has so many, and he can only marry so many, except for little Lolita. In addition, all the ship girls in the entire town are on wedding ships. If you get a ship girl, you won't get married in half a year, and it will take a while to gain your favor. He continued, remember, Richelieu, it has been a few years since you returned to the garrison, and you have grown up once. I can recognize you now. Your eyes are amazing. Listening to Sugu's words, his eyes became brighter and brighter. Richelieu said, there is no growth, has there been a big change? Sugu suddenly laughed, and Richelieu clenched his fists, just waiting for someone to say the word Fili. Sugu finally held back and said without saying anything, you look a lot more mature. You've passed the test. Richelieu noticed that Sugu was staring at her, and she asked, Admiral, what are you looking at? It's nothing, Sugu said, the dress is very beautiful. Thank you for the compliment, Admiral. Among all the battleships, there are really few who are in better shape than Richelieu, especially the grown-up Richelieu. At least at this banquet, the admirals who own battleships are definitely in the minority, and no admiral brings them. The ship girl is more eye-catching than Richelieu, even the lustful Mutsu. Sugu said, Sister Li, I find that every male admiral who walks by has to look at you. Richelieu said, really? Sugu glanced around, and he didn't know why he said it out loud. I noticed that it seems that you are the only one whose shoulders and back are completely exposed in the dress. In fact, there were several of them, and Richelieu saw them, and she said, is it very revealing? No, Sugu wasn't that old-fashioned yet. Let's change into a dress next time. I don't know when Zhong'an came over and stretched out his hand toward Richelieu. Richelieu, you have always refused before, and it feels like you have thorns all over your body. Now, can I ask you to dance? Richelieu shook his head, she smiled and paused, I'm sorry, no, because my admiral will be jealous. Before Sugu could speak, Zhong'an shrugged his shoulders. He was still a gentleman and indeed had a certain charm. It was not easy to become an admiral, it's such a pity. Zhong'an walked away. Sugu put his hand on the table, and Richelieu grabbed his hand, Admiral, let's dance, you won't refuse. Sugu let Richelieu pull him up and let her pull him away. He saw an unprecedented touching smile on her face. He thought of his performance just now, and he really cared about it and wanted to say something. Richelieu took the first step, raising his index finger to his lips. The admiral must marry Richelieu. Richelieu, who hated marrying. Who wants to pity? It's not pity. It's definitely not pity this time. It's really heart-wrenching. As long as you know this, it will be fine. Richelieu smiled brightly. Stop talking and dance. Sitting alone in the corner, Zhong'an looked at the two people dancing in the hall. Although the other party already had an admiral, he couldn't control his feelings. Richelieu, such an attractive woman, he really likes her. What a pity. She is so beautiful. The smile is not for yourself. Admiral, pay attention. Good. Don't step on my toes again. Feel sorry. Fine. In the melodious music, under the blurred lights, two people danced gently, and there was not much beauty. The man made mistakes from time to time. It wasn't that he couldn't dance, he seemed nervous and stumbled, but it was still very attractive. The reason girls dance beautifully and look even more beautiful, but they are not as beautiful as their smiles. Dance. Might as well dance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 912. After the dance, Sugu and Richelieu returned to where they were sitting. "Where's my wine?" Sugu said. He saw that his wine glass was empty. Looking at Xianxiang again, he saw that the girl had finished all the large plates of food she had brought and was lying on the table. Her long hair spread out on the table like water, her little arms were resting on the side of her face, and her cute face was flushed. Richelieu also found that there was no brandy in her glass. She knew who was behind the scenes and was in a good mood. She was not ready to blame Kong for trying to drink secretly. She was silent for a moment, glanced at Sugu, hesitated again, and asked, "Admiral, is there anything else?" Sugu didn't quite understand. Richelieu looked around and said, "For example, chat with other admirals and exchange information." Sugu replied, "I went at first, but I won't go anymore." Richelieu looked through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows in the hall and saw the beautiful garden in the courtyard outside. She said, "I feel a little bored. Otherwise, Admiral, please accompany me for a walk." Richelieu thought to himself, "The book said, if there is 100 steps between us, as long as you are willing to take the first step, I will take the remaining 99 steps. I said that is not enough, you can go ahead. Just look back and I'll be right behind you." Sugu naturally would not refuse Richelieu. He stood up and suddenly a small hand grabbed his pants. Tuan Xiang has a sit-down temperament. The reason why she didn't run around wildly after eating was because she remembered the important promise, "Admiral, tiger, I want to see the big tiger, I want to take the train, beep beep, click click click." I don't know if I was setting myself up for saying that. Sugu said, "It's already night now and all the tigers are sleeping. Let's go see it tomorrow morning, that tiger is very good, like a big cat. You can ride on its back and take some photos. I will envy Xiaozai, Lafite, and the others when I return to the town hall." Kong Xiang asked, "Aren't we going back tonight?" Sugu said, "I won't go back. The distance between the two garrison mansions is a bit far, and I will definitely not be able to go back in time after the banquet." "Okay, no more tigers." Sugu breathed a sigh of relief and smiled, "That's it, you have fun here, we will be back soon." However, Utopia didn't let go and still held his pants tightly. The girl nodded her head self-righteously. "That's right. How can a little girl look at the occasion and atmosphere? She doesn't even know what a light bulb is." She looked excited. "I will go too, take a walk, walk 100 steps after dinner, and live to be 99. Richelieu didn't speak, she just glanced at Xianxiang's back and showed a smile. "I haven't checked Utopia's homework for a long time. Utopia's grades are really bad. I'm always in the bottom 3. I can't go on like this anymore. I'll buy a few copies of something like 5 years of college entrance examination and 3 years of simulation. See the effect. My little fantasy, what's the point of taking a walk? Fireworks, I'll take you to set off fireworks at this time." Eugene suddenly appeared behind Fantasy, holding her head and chin with both hands, which was a relief. Fan Xiang hesitated for a moment, unsure about paying attention, and nodded for a long time, "Set off fireworks." Sugu saw Eugene blinking at him, saying "Leave everything to me," but he didn't have a good expression. Although he only drank a little wine because of Richelieu, he was not drunk, but his heart was already drunk. "I still maintain a trace of clarity in my heart. A certain Lilicon wanted to attack Xiaozai in the first place. It's hateful. What I'm good at is taking advantage of the situation." After all, he hadn't said anything yet. He saw Richelieu out of the corner of his eye. He still had to prioritize. He coughed and said, Fantasy, follow and you, don't be naughty. Kong Xiang raised a hand, I know. Auntie, Yujin looked at Sugu and gritted his teeth. He subconsciously rubbed Utopia's face with both hands. It was so soft. He decided to forget it for the time being, but he would remember this grudge well. Shaking off their daydreams, Sugu and Richelieu walked out of the hall and walked on the winding stone path in the garden. They saw grass on both sides of the stone path, with tall palms planted there. As night fell and the lights began to turn on, the red-leafed plants with unknown names embraced the short landscape lampposts standing on the roadside. The lampposts emit dim light, like a shy girl. Richelieu walked beside Sugu with his hands behind his back. Since the admiral left the garrison has been disbanded. I took everyone to the west. We have not joined any shipgirl branch. We are considered shipgirl mercenaries, just like Bismarck, but not as famous as her. Black ghosts have come out. That Zhongan, his garrison is in the city where we live. His garrison is very strong, but it is not enough to meet some powerful deep-sea shipgirls. He has hired us several times, so we have dealt with him several times. Later he invited me again, but I refused, because I found that those deep-sea shipgirls, his garrison can obviously deal with it, but he still found me, what should I say? Xiang Zhuang dances with his sword, aiming at Pei Gong. Walking across a wooden bridge, the guardrail of the wooden bridge was decorated with a row of colorful lights. It was very beautiful. Sugu listened to Richelieu talk about her and Zhongan. He knew that she was afraid that she would misunderstand because she didn't explain just now. So now he was trying to make up for it, but he didn't point it out and nodded in response. In the final analysis, they just confirmed their feelings. There was no hand-holding or any touching words of love. Sugu lowered his head and looked at the irregular stone bricks on his feet. He said casually, the food at the banquet must be made from the best ingredients. It's very expensive, but I think the taste is just average. Richelieu said, you won't eat it? And those red wines, because the Prince of Wales often said, I know those red wine brands, they are definitely very expensive, but they taste like that. Sugu said, if it weren't for the banquet, everyone would drink wine. Holding a glass of juice, Coke, and toasting with others is really not good, and I really don't want to drink it. Spoil something, waste it? Anyway, Eugene, a wealthy man, the most indispensable thing is money. When I make friends, I never look at whether they have money or not. Anyway, they are not as rich as me. Sugu smiled and looked at Richelieu, not like there was heating in the room, but it was still a bit cold outside. He added a shawl and asked, Richelieu knows the bar very well. It is okay. Is it okay? Sugu said, can I still be a bartender if I don't understand wine? Know a little and make a guest appearance. I know how to draw, oil paintings, and sketches. There is still an oil painting you painted by Richelieu hanging in my room, which depicts the garrison in the storm. Not just me, but many people's rooms have oil paintings you painted hanging as decorations. You can also perform various dances, such as waltz, tango, etc. Sugu thought for a while and asked, can you do sculpture? Won't. After walking for a while, Sugu saw a fountain pool. He looked at a statue of a goddess in the middle of the fountain pool. She was wrapped in white and holding a water bottle. No, it looked like an anchor. It was a bit of a joke. However, his townhouse only had a small pool and it was a mess. Raising the fish caught by Suk Bader, releasing fish every day, and killing fish every day, forget about a rockery in the middle. He suddenly sighed, it's great to have money. Richelieu didn't know why Sugu suddenly said such a thing. Sugu said, take a look at their town's mansion. It is at least 10 times as big as ours. It's not as big as Guangda. It has a lot of everything. The entire town's mansion is almost a botanical garden, with all kinds of exotic flowers and plants. When I said there were tigers in the backyard and a train surrounding an amusement park, I wasn't just lying. I suddenly thought, Richelieu, do you think our garrison is too small? He bent down, stirred the water in the fountain, and then sat down. Although there are a lot of expenses, the garrison still has a lot of money, including monthly salary, daily expedition profits, and several suppression of deep-sea flagships. The rewards are very large. Hood and Sheng Xing opened a company before, and the shares were sold for a large sum. Money, any trophy from the deep-sea flagship is the highlight of the auction. No matter how big the garrison is, the place where you usually stay is only this small. Richelieu looked at Sugu, thinking that it would be fine as long as you are here. Sugu said, we discussed with Lexington before whether we should change to a larger garrison. Or we should expand it and at least build another dormitory building. There are only 2 buildings and it feels a bit crowded. We can build it next to the lighthouse. There is an open space, and there is also a large auditorium that can accommodate everyone in the town hall, but we can consider opening up 2 or 3 rooms on the first floor of the complex, and then I will think about it again. Something suddenly occurred to him. He had found Dafeng before and returned to the governor's mansion. He had been thinking about building a large bathhouse. He had discussed this with Lexington several times and decided to choose between Roman baths and Japanese hot springs. Unfortunately, the construction never started. If construction had started at that time, it would have been completed more than half a year ago. The ship girl itself was born from the memory and history of steel. When injured, steel is needed in order to absorb the thoughts and memories in steel to repair the damage. As long as you have steel, no matter what, you'll be fine, whether you have a good night's sleep, read comics, or play games. As a side note, going into the canal means soaking in a hot bath, which is most conducive to mental comfort, which is also conducive to recovery of injured ship girls. Generally, repairing injured ship girls generally choose to go into the canal. Over time, everyone calls repairs into the canal. Then again, the ship girls who get the rings will definitely receive more care from the admiral than others. Holding hands, hugging, and kissing are also their exclusive privileges. Because of this, they feel more comfortable and tend to repair faster. To a certain extent, it's almost the same as the game settings. There is a large bathhouse. You can go in. If the ship girls are injured and go into the bathhouse, you can help them wash their hair, rub their backs, and massage them. My techniques are decent, and they will definitely be blushing. Occasionally, they may fail, but at most it's mosquito-repellent incense. Anyway, everything is for everyone to feel comfortable and recover faster, not for the mixed bathing of beautiful girls, or for welfare. Come to think of it, I haven't washed Xiao Zai's hair for a long time, and I heard she said she had bubbles in her eyes. I really want to soak comfortably in the hot water, with my head leaning on the edge of the bathtub, with the big mackerel on the left and the archer fish on the right. Sir Cook's figure is too much, M1 is a little slut, U47 is the skinniest, U505 is a little more well-behaved, U81's 3 little wolves are not allowed to enter the large bath. Poor Veneto, she can't enter the large bath either, for only one reason. Really, it reminds me of soaking in hot springs at a hot spring hotel again, Ziwahi, Hood. Don't know. Fuzza really has a great heart, and Shinano is not bad at all. It is simply unimaginable that the Prince of Wales, Fuzzu, Colorado, Helena, Lyon, and other first-tier governors gathered together. Admiral! Admiral! Sugu suddenly woke up from his wonderful fantasy. Richelieu knew one thing, the admiral must be thinking about something unhealthy. No, just thinking about building the garrison. Sugu coughed. Sugu saw Richelieu's doubtful expression and said, "You believe me? The party is still going on, so it's really hard to go too far or stay out for too long." Stopping there, Sugu and Richelieu began to walk back. Even if the two of them intentionally slowed down, the road was still so long, and they would soon be halfway back. Returning to the small wooden bridge that he originally walked on, Sugu stopped. He lay on the railing and watched the bridge lights reflecting the sparkling stream. The stream was very shallow and crystal clear. He turned around and leaned on the railing to look at Richelieu. The side face is not as heroic as usual, but much more soft and beautiful. Richelieu noticed Sugu's gaze and asked, "What is the Admiral looking at?" "I didn't see anything." Sugu raised his head and looked at the night sky, where the moon and stars were sparse. Richelieu Sugu paused and smiled, "The moonlight is so beautiful." Richelieu had no reaction. Sugu was a little proud but also a little disappointed. "Have the Admiral finished the novel written by Dai Feng?" Richelieu asked suddenly. "No," Sugu said, "I just read part of it." Her writing was too feminine. "Yes, she writes female-oriented novels. Everything is written very implicitly, as if it is a love affair between the hero and heroine. There is never a sentence of 'I love you.' Only when she got up in the morning, the heroine found that it had snowed heavily overnight and the whole world was covered in snow. It was really beautiful. She quickly ran to the hero's house and wanted to tell him to get up quickly and see the snow. I asked Dai Feng, 'How can you write such beautiful words?' She said it was nothing special, just picking up people's wisdom. In the old world, the Japanese writer Natsume Soseki once worked as an English teacher. In his teaching, he translated 'I love you' as, which means that the moonlight tonight is so beautiful, because this can reflect the implicitness of the Japanese, and without sacrificing romance. I really like it, so I want to share all the good things with him. I really like it. With you, the moon becomes extra beautiful." Sugu put his hand on the guardrail. He thought to himself that he was only arty, thinking that the beautiful moonlight means "I love you." He smiled and decided to regain his place. "I am not Japanese, and I am not that shy." Lowering his head and raising his head, Sugu made up his mind. "Richelieu, I want to sleep with you." Richelieu was a little confused for a moment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 913. That being said, after the banquet that night, Sugu didn't get to sleep with Richelieu. It was a good thing that no one came to slap him in the face, put forward many demands, and signed a series of unequal treaties. It's a pity, it's quite a pity. If there is anything more regrettable, it is nothing more than fantasy. I really want to hold the girl's soft body and sleep, smell the soap on the girl's body, and gently sniff the girl's hair to exude the fragrance of shampoo. I feel a little perverted, but I won't do anything strange anyway. This is still guaranteed." In Eugene's mansion, he slept alone in the luxurious sea view suite for one night, crying silently as he looked at the ceiling, ivory wardrobe, and soft red carpet on the floor. The next morning, Sugu managed to regain some energy and fulfill his promise with fantasy. Going to see a big tiger or Zengzi killing a pig, even a child couldn't fool him. "It's really a tiger," Kong Xiang cheered when he saw the tiger. I was a little curious. No matter how much I wanted to ride on the big tiger, hugging the neck, rubbing the ears, rubbing the tiger's head angrily, or patting it without feeding, the big tiger was always as honest as a big cat. So consultant Eugene asked, "How did you train him?" Eugene said, "I don't know." After a while, Sugu learned the truth from Eugene's housekeeper. It turned out that a world-class animal trainer was involved, so it was absolutely foolproof. He thought for a while and asked, "Can you cook an eagle?" Eugene asked, "What is buoying?" Sugu explained, "Stilling the eagle is a way to train the eagle, that is, not letting the eagle sleep, boiling it, making it sleepy, and of course not giving it food or drink. For several days, the wildness of the eagle is eliminated, and the remaining it'll be easy to handle next time." So cruel. It's quite cruel, but I'm also helpless. The bald eagle in our townhouse is really in need of discipline. Sugu lowered his head and thought, As long as it's around, it's too difficult to make cute dumplings. CV-16 teacher bell every day, etc., which makes people feel a little jealous. After watching the big tiger with Xianxiang, this naughty child chased the peacock. Sugu educated her, and then accompanied her on a small train ride until they rushed back to the town hall in the afternoon. Fan Xiang disappeared as soon as he set foot on the ground of the governor's mansion. Sugu and Richelieu separated in front of the office in the dormitory building. Someone Sugu turned around and saw Missouri. She was standing under an osmanthus tree. Missouri said, "How is Nightji?" Women, especially married women, when the other party has a husband. Born with a strong sixth sense, he can guess everything accurately. You are a born detective, not to mention the hickeys on your neck, the hair on your shoulders, the scratches on your back, the lingering fragrance on your clothes, the fact that your husband actually bought gifts when he came home, and that he must be guilty of thievery, etc., are all obvious clues. An expression, every muscle movement, relaxation, she already had the answer. Your tie is tied so well and buttoned so neatly. Which girl helped you? Sugu asked knowingly, I don't understand what you are talking about. Missouri patted Sugu's chest and blew into his ear, how about the Red Archbishop? Baffling. Do you want me to make it clear? Missouri grabbed Sugu's tie. She used to be indifferent to such things, but since she got married, she has become more and more concerned about such things. Sugu said, nothing. I don't believe it. Are you so mean? Sugu thought to himself that even though the closest thing didn't happen, holding hands and kissing were still indispensable. Missouri asked casually, when are you going to give Richelieu the ring? These 2 days. Still saying no. Sugu said aggrievedly, I really don't have those things you asked about. Here, Richelieu went back to the room first, sat for a while, and then found Joan of Arc. There were some things that she had not forgotten until now. A certain girl had been pestering someone. I found a problem. Vauquelin and Surcouf, although their grades are not at the top, they are at the top in every exam. Just think of it in fantasy, forget about poor grades. If you really work hard and still can't do it, I have nothing to say, but she usually does well in class. Sleeping, passing notes, Zeppelin said she talked back, ran around after class, and insisted on running with her in Tashkent. If she didn't, she would steal other people's things and run away, and she would give them back to you if she caught up. We can't go on like this, we can't go on like this. We can't control other people. Kami Chia preaches about the underworld all day long. Longxiang is self-righteous. Everyone has to say something, but Utopia is a member of our legal system. We have this duty, and the qualification to discipline. Joan of Arc, do you have any good ideas? Leave it to you, Joan of Arc, check her homework every night. Remember, it's not just about writing it, it also needs to be correct. If there is anything wrong, ask her to correct it. The words must be written well, square, and not scribbled. All comic books have been confiscated. Think about it and don't assign too many homeworks. 1 test paper per day for Chinese, mathematics, and battleship knowledge is enough. After carefully reminding Joan of Arc several times, she suddenly heard a greeting as she passed by the pavilion. Reputation cannot always be by your side. As the chief housekeeper of the town hall, she is not like some idle person. She has many things to do every day and is very busy. Hood sat alone in the pavilion, curled up in a ball with ginger and fish cakes, and slept lazily. On her thigh, he gently caressed her, facing the sea breeze, holding black tea, and found that Richelieu didn't hear anything and pretended not to hear and just left, and came over abnormally, which was a little surprising. Hood, what do you want me to do? Richelieu sat down opposite Hood. The snacks are pretty good, Hood said. Richelieu took a piece of scone from the cake stand. Every girl doesn't like snacks. Hood said, you and the Admiral, how about you attending the banquet? Richelieu smiled, that's it? Hood said, Richelieu, you seem to enjoy parties. She continued, I don't really like attending banquets with the Admiral. Every time he drags me around to show off the boat, saying that this is my wedding ship, my wife Hood. Also, actually I'm not very good at dancing, but he insisted on pulling me to dance, and then took the opportunity to hug my waist. Take advantage of it, it seems wrong, I am a wedding partner. The only good thing is that I kept stepping on his feet, and he didn't get angry at all. Instead, he taught me very patiently that it is annoying to laugh at people all the time. Oh, Richelieu thought to himself, but he kept stepping on his own feet. Hood said, Richelieu, please teach me how to dance. I don't want to make a fool of myself next time I go out with the Admiral. Okay, Richelieu said, whenever you have time, just come to me. Hood added, think about it, it seems that I usually sleep with the Admiral. It's okay to practice before going to bed, so that I don't have to trouble Richelieu. Richelieu finished eating the scones and poured himself a cup of black tea. The Admiral is not as good at it as I am. By the way, there's this one, has Richelieu read it? Hood said, holding up a book and shaking it, I found a book that is very interesting. I just found it yesterday. I read it in one breath last night. I had panda eyes most of the night, and when I woke up in the morning, you looked at my eyes, and I watched them for a long time during the day, and I just finished them. What book? Hood handed the book to Richelieu and said, the writing is very good, and the story is also very good, but the male protagonist is boring, iceberg in the front, and gets along well with the heroine in the back, and suddenly changes drastically and becomes entangled, like an admiral, he is in trouble as hell, he has to sleep with someone in his arms, wake up in the morning and secretly visit relatives, but, it's nothing. Richelieu nodded, that's right. Hood suddenly said, Richelieu, you seem to have changed. Have it? It's changed. Anyway, it's changed. I don't know how to put it. I seem to be more confident. Forget it, never mind that. Hood said, there are many wonderful things about the book I mentioned. Let me tell you. Richelieu was stunned. She looked at Hood. She was really a little confused. Hood said that he wanted to be her friend. In the past, it felt like he was just to show off in front of her. But now it seems to be true and true. It's just for him. She was usually too sensitive and misunderstood every time. She hesitated and said, okay, since it's such a good book, I'll read it. You'll absolutely love it. Richelieu took the book and turned a page. After a brief look, she felt that it was okay, but she couldn't comment on the specifics. She closed the book and said, I also saw a book, which is very interesting. Let me introduce it to Hood. The name is The Orange Sunset Dyed the Clouds Red. Hood said goodbye to Richelieu. He came back to pack his things and asked, how is it? Have Hood and Richelieu become friends? Hood suddenly felt a little dull. She murmured, Richelieu has really changed, and he is no longer recognizable to him. The head maid suddenly thought of the key point. Striking while the iron was hot, Sugu didn't delay any longer. After dinner, he gave the ring to Richelieu and put it on her left ring finger with great care. The little girl hadn't started to sleep yet. They usually went to bed early. At 9 or 10 o'clock, the news that Richelieu had become a wedding ship was known to everyone in the governor's house, and it spread faster than anything else. Mutsu was a little angry, holding Nagato's hand and complaining, Sister Nagato, why do you tell me, it was obviously me first, why don't I have a ring yet? Nagato stood up and said coldly, let me ask for you. Sister, no. Mutsu hurriedly pulled Nagato. At the public trial, he took the initiative to be the younger sister in order to survive, so the ring had to come later. After all, it can't stimulate people. Ruhi pushed Xianghe, sister, you can't just wait for the admiral, sometimes you have to work hard yourself. If you feel that the relationship is not enough, let me tell you, the relationship needs to be cultivated. I will help you make an appointment with the admiral, one day Chuangziu. My sister is so beautiful and gentle, there's no way anyone wouldn't like her. Guam drank the juice and laughed, Sister Li, the hungry wolf. Sister Li, who hates getting married, has waited for so long and finally got what she wanted. Look at her happy look, her straight face, and her smile. Can't hide it? This is how the Civil War came about. Nevada said, Guam, why do I feel so bitter when I hear what you say? Guam said, where is the sourness in my words? Wichita said gloomily, I want the ring. I have mentioned it several times, but the admiral thought it was a prank. Oklahoma said, you should pick up his hand and put it on your chest, or hold him and give him a kiss. This is the most direct and effective way. San Juan stood behind the bar, sorting things. Isn't it just a ring? What's the big deal? South Dakota snorted and raised his hand in front of the light. He had been wearing rings and other items for several years. He never showed off and was very low-key. She suddenly thought of something, but she couldn't grasp the thread and frowned. Dong dong dong. South Dakota finally remembered, and now she stood in front of Washington's room door. The door opened and she saw Washington taking off his coat, wearing a white shirt, with long hair shawl. She saw South Dakota and shouted, little fat man, what are you doing here? White-haired violent woman, South Dakota retorted. Washington didn't speak, he just looked at South Dakota like an idiot and was about to close the door. Wait, don't close the door. South Dakota pushed the door hard with her hands and feet, and got into the room through Washington's hand holding the doorframe. She didn't need to bend down very much. She was really a bit short. South Dakota sat down on Washington's bed and looked around. Washington's room was simply decorated in cool colors, with off-white wooden floors, a gray fabric sofa, and a large black bookcase filled with books. Washington, what are you doing? You won't go to bed so early. Washington sat down next to the desk and crossed his legs. If you have something to say, say it, and if you have something to say, fart. South Dakota said, Richelieu has a ring. Me too. South Dakota showed off. Washington said, didn't you shamelessly ask the admiral for that ring? That's all there is, South Dakota said. You don't have it? Washington asked, are you done? That's it? Is there anything else? There was no response. South Dakota didn't know what to do for a moment. He really didn't care, or was it the calm before the storm? She was careful and said again, you don't have a ring. Washington nodded, well, what next? The plot is wrong. South Dakota thought for a moment and clenched his fists, don't try to steal my ring, I will yell. Washington smiled, why should I steal your tattered ring? South Dakota was a little aggrieved, so he retreated to advance, it's true, Admiral, you like him so much, but he doesn't give you a ring. South Dakota felt a little bored. She scratched her hair and stood up, I'm leaving. Remember to close the door, Washington said. Oh. After South Dakota left, Washington walked to the door, locked the door, sat down at the desk again, poured a glass of water, drank it in one gulp, opened the drawer, found a notebook, opened it, took out a pen from the pen holder, and turned it around. I took off the pen cap and dipped it in ink. There was something wrong with the pen. I could only dip a little ink in to write a line and started writing a diary. Of course I didn't write anything. December 5th, the day turned cloudy. Today the Admiral married Richelieu. Without me, I was angry.